Everyone that's going to be talking tonight, please make sure you're using a microphone. We have some handhelds. We have the lapel mic if you'd rather use that, but for all right, we do have some new microphones. Please bear with us if we need to adjust the levels. We'd ask everyone that's talking tonight to please make sure they're speaking into a microphone so everyone can hear. We just don't want to have feedback. We do have one room mic here. Everything should hopefully be okay, but please make sure anyone that's talking tonight, please be pointing into one of these. You want to go ahead and say some words first, Jennifer? All right, it's 6:01 p.m. Calling to order this meeting of the Harmony Community Development District. Start with roll call. Dan Leet, Chairman, is here. Supervisor Lucas, Vice Chairman.
Here.
Supervisor Brittany.
Here.
Supervisor Julie. And Supervisor Joe.
Here.
Okay. Our acting district manager, Jennifer Golden, would like to say a few words first.
Is this on? Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Board, as you know, my name is Jennifer Golden. I am the Director of District Services with Infomark. Board, as you guys know, we did submit our resignation. Our last day will be August 25th. However, we want to assure the board and the community that we will work hard for the next 60 days and for the rest of our time here. And we will work very closely with whatever management firm you decide to move forward with. We're very close with all the firms. We're a very small group of folks. So we'll make sure that they're all up to speed on where everything is in the district. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the modified agenda. Is there any words from Infomark on what that, can you give us a brief summary, or it's just?
Sorry. Can I say something?
Yes.
Jennifer, can you please give a justification on your resignation and the things that led up to it? Sorry? Oh, okay. Can you hear me? I'm asking Jennifer to provide their justification. There was not a lot of clarity in the email, so I just want to know the reasons leading up to the resignation that you guys had.
Okay. Well, and we do have a agenda item for the district management to give their report, so that would be.
So we can wait till that if that's fine, but I just want clarity, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now for the agenda, this is one that was handed out here. There's a discrepancies between what is posted on the website and what was sent out, I believe, yesterday evening. Can we get some clarity on what the attachments and everything that we're expecting to be here, what this modification to the agenda is that we're adopting?
So we just had to make some final adjustments to the way the budget was formatted. So we did need to update that, as well as the revision for the minutes, and those are shown separately to the board. There was a bit of back and forth between a few of the board members. So we wanted to go back and listen to the audio and then get that corrected the way it should be.
Okay. I will, for the purpose of moving the meeting forward, I will move to adopt the agenda as it's been presented to us here.
Second that.
All right, all in favor?
Wait, just to be clear, that doesn't include the minutes from last meeting.
Well, okay, so the minutes from the last meeting, that will be separately discussed in the consent agenda, where we will discuss and approve or not approve or amend what was been presented for us. Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, board voted unanimously. Next, we have audience comments. We again.
Hold on, Dan. The one of the residents wanted us to introduce ourselves before we start.
Okay, let's, for in the interest.
We'll make it quick. Go ahead.
Yep, go ahead.
My name's Lucas Chicanis. I've been here since 2013. I'm electrical engineer for 13 years. I got 2 kids here, 11 and 9. I support all their sports and events, and thank you.
Hi there, my name is Brittany Cornell. I am a Harmony resident for about 5 years, have 3 kids here. Joined the board in November, and yeah, that's it.
Hi, I'm Joe Phillips. I moved here, I think in 2021. I think I bought my house the end of 2020, moved in 2021. And, but my granddaughter and grandson lived here since they were 1 year old. So I've been familiar with Harmony for about 15 years. I live alone with my cat.
My name is Julie Williams, and I've lived here since 2012.
All right, and I'm Dan Leet. I've lived here since 2016 and been on the board since 2020. All right, next is we have audience comments. We would ask that everyone that is wishes to speak, please come up here, speak into the microphone, introduce yourself for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less and have them be related to business before the board tonight. Start with Brendan.
My name is Brendan McGovern. You're all right? You guys can hear me okay? You can't hear me? Yeah. There we go. That's, oh. Maybe this works better. You guys, we all good? 7 o'clock show is different than the 6 o'clock show? All right, we're good. Name is Brendan McGovern, live at 3341 Schoolhouse Road. Thank you for quitting. I just want to say, I appreciate it. You guys faced some heat and you walked out the door with it. So take it. Goodbye. Lucas, I still want you to resign. You haven't done anything since you've been on the board. You always just vote yes and vote with party line. Only thing you have done is spend money on a ramp. Then you lied about how you voted in the last meeting. You voted no. Yes on a raise, no on the actual RFP process. You can watch the video. Joe, you and I have talked a little bit, but I just don't think either one of you are actually up to the task of replacing the management company. You've been on their coattails since you've joined the board. You've yesed everything that they've ever done. And I think it's time for you guys to let new blood. I'm not saying it's me. I'm not saying it's an easy job. I understand it's a difficult job, but I just don't think either one of you are capable of actually doing the job. You've just been sitting here voting yes for the most part until it actually matters. And then you voted no on the RFP. And if the RFP scared you guys so much, maybe you should have just done the job you were hired to do. So that's all I had to say. Dan, thank you for all the service you actually have done.
Thank you.
Really?
No, that's not right. We're not gonna let him do that, right?
Okay, okay, hold, can we have some order? We have asked everyone to, hold on, we have asked everyone to keep their comments to 3 minutes. Please.
Thank you. Hey, I'm really sorry that I went out to your website and posted bad reviews that are actually justified against you guys, and I'll continue to do so, including at the Better Business Bureau. If you have a problem with me, I live at 3341 Schoolhouse Road. Come over and talk to me.
Let's get back to the spot.
Okay.
As far as the two board members who I think haven't done much since they've been on the board, Lucas and Joe. Joe, it's nothing personal. It's really nothing personal. You seem like a nice guy. You always talk about how you're an electrical engineer. I get that. Great, wonderful. You guys probably did wonderful things in life. But you're not helping the community, and the community needs the help. Right now, you voted no on the RFP, but yes on a raise. Just on the recent votes alone, you guys should step down because I don't think you're capable of actually doing the job necessary to finding a replacement management company and a field services company. I'm good?
Yeah.
Thank
Can I
you.
please say one thing on that?
In the interest of keeping it moving, let's just.
I'd like to say a lot about that, but
Okay,
I'm not
but
going to.
again, the topic for conversation right now, can we have order, please, is audience comments. Please, you can't. Okay. This is audience comments. If there are any other members of the audience that would like to come up, Mary Jane, please come on up. All right.
My name is Mary Jane Sleds, 3181 Songbird Circle. I'll make my comments brief. The board needs to come together more now than ever for the benefit of the residents. We elected you to serve the residents and we expect nothing less. Although I have items to discuss, the most pressing are getting the best management company for Harmony and getting a budget that is palatable for the residents. New management company has to have documentation system in place for easier reference and look back. Employees and vendors hired by the management company need to be held accountable. Expectations of what is needed for budget prep should be made ahead of time. In regards to the budget, big ticket items should not be considered till after this budget. No more pet projects. We like United. One thing that I would ask as a resident is to please outline for the residents what is in the basic contract because it seems United comes to the table every month with more things to be done. Water and sewer, I thought the irrigation fixes were going to lower the water bill, but that has not happened. What is going on there? Ponds have to be addressed. They look atrocious. Security cameras, if we never solved the 2 cases that we had hoped that the cameras would help in, then why are we spending so much money on security cameras? Seriously need to look at legal and engineering costs because every year they go up and over the budget. The budget needs to stay within the cost of inflation, and reserves should not be used to help keep them there.
All right. Thank you, Mary Jane. Do we have any other comments from the audience? Sir in the back, go ahead and make your way up here, please. Here in the handheld one.
My name is Steve Rafferty.
Yep.
I'm at 3313 Sagebrush Street, and I've been here before. They keep requesting some assistance in getting people to slow down on 5 Oaks. I was past 2 cars, the guy jumped over us, went by that flashing speed sign. It was supposed to be a deterrent, and hit 35, and he didn't slow down. It's a safety issue, and I really wish the board would address it because it's been going on for months, and I'm not seeing any progress as far as more police or speed bumps or some other alternative that you can come up with. But it's a safety issue, which I hope the board will address at some point.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rafferty. Additional comments from the audience? Yes.
Hello. Yeah. Debbie Fuentes, 7450 Oakmark Road, The Lakes. I just have a few things to say, and they're rather similar to what Mary Jane said, so I will reiterate that what she says, we're definitely all on board with. In terms of our community, we need our board to stick together. We need you guys to work together. We know you're here for the right reason, but we need everyone to work together in order for us to get a resolution to the many issues in our community. We need a new management company. We're hoping we can do that. And I hope you know that we also have many residents in our community that are very capable and knowledgeable on writing an RFP. So please use the resources we have. In terms of our budget, 13% is just unacceptable. We have to do a lot better than that, and we're hoping that's going to be resolved today. In terms of the North Lake issue I brought up last time, thank you to Joe and Julie for getting back to me. And I realize that that's an issue we'll have to deal with later if we need to. Other than that, we all just want to live in peace, in harmony, in our harmony, and we want things to look like they used to. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Additional comments? Yes, Tatiana, come on up.
Hi. The address?
Microphone, please.
Hi, so I'm Tatiana Londoño. I'm a resident of 3331 Grande Huron Drive. I'm so sorry for being here late. I try my best to be earlier, but just in time. So I'm speaking today as a resident who cares deeply about the future of our community. With the property management company giving us 60-day notice, we are entering an important transition, and how we handle it will shape the trust and structure of harmony going forward. As residents, our expectations are simple but meaningful. First, we expect transparency, clear, consistent updates from the board, and the management company will help residents stay informed and engaged. Whether through email, the website, or forums, sharing the right information at the right time helps build trust and reduce speculation. Second, we value proactiveness. We want to share a plan, not just responses to problems as they arise. It's reassuring when the board leads by asking the right questions early, reviewing records now, and thinking ahead about new solutions. Third, clarity means residents want to know who to contact, where to report service issues, and how our feedback is being addressed. Let's make those answers visible and easy to follow. And above all, we are asking for solutions first mindset. This isn't the time for blame or tension. It's a chance to reset, improve, and strengthen how our CDD is managed. Mistakes and challenges are part of any transition, but how we respond is what defines us. To support this effort, tonight, I'm sharing via email 4 tools with the board, residents, and up to you, you can share it with Inframark as well. First, a checklist for the Harmony CDD board, outlining what actions need to happen starting tomorrow. Second, a checklist for the property management to guide their responsibilities before the contract ends. Third, a list of documents the board should review before the company leaves. And fourth and last, a set of questions the board should ask the property management company. These tools are meant to help everyone, residents, board members, and Inframark, to stay focused, organized, and collaborative. They are not about micromanagement or criticizing, but about making sure the basics are covered and no detail is missed. They give us shared expectations and accountability. To the board, thank you for your time, service, and leadership. To Inframark, we ask for your full commitment through your last day. And to my fellow residents, we ask for your full commitment, and let's keep showing up, asking questions, and supporting a better future for Harmony. Let's turn this transition into an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, additional comments from the audience. All right, coming up.
Everybody. Good evening. My name is George Zisimos. I live at 3205 Southern Pine. I'd just like to say kind of what everybody also has been saying. We all live here together. Don't we all want the same thing, more or less? The board should have the community's best interests in mind, everybody here. I'm not sure why everybody would disagree on some things that are common sense, more or less. No poking or sarcastic comments are needed. That's ridiculous. One thing, I thank you for thank you everybody for being here. Thanks Inframark for your time. One thing important to know with every transition is the stuff that we own and things that we have, so we can have those when they leave. That's just really important. So we need an item. I'm sure we already have that with receipts, so it's important that somebody's going to make sure that that's taken care of when it's over. I'm not sure who does that. I'm also still curious where that 25 horsepower motor is. If we still have it, that's important. A 25 horsepower Yamaha motor. It's in, I'm not sure where it is. It was in repairs since October. They should know. What was bothering me is real quick. I'm glad that, thank you for being here, but I think the employees that they had were doing the job wrong. They would, the employee would tell me that other employees would start the motor in the shallow end of the muck, so it would suck up all the dirt into the impeller, which caused a lot of the problems, is what I was told. That's hearsay, but that's what I was told. So why do we have to pay for them to ship it out and then get it fixed? Why do we have to pay for them not to know what they're doing? I appreciate them being here, but I don't want them to learn on our dime. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, George. Any other comments from the audience here? Do we have any comments on Zoom? Okay, hearing none, we will move forward. The first business item, there's quite a few things on here that's basically a rehash of last month. That meeting went extremely long, and some of it's on Infomark, but a lot of it's on me. We, as late as it got, we never actually had a vote on those proposals that we heard here last night. And of the things to be upset about on Facebook, that's something I was expecting to see more of. That's, on me as chairman. But we can go through these and quickly have any additional discussion of the proposals that were here last month. And I think very quickly move on to the other business items. The first is for Swartz, which was for the pool furniture. My thoughts on that are, yes, they gave us a few options, but we don't have any competing vendors to compare that against. So I'm not prepared to take a vote on spending that. I'm seeing nodding of heads. So, okay, moving on. RSR, they were for servicing the sculptures that are having various degrees of rust. I'll lead with my opinion on that. It's something that needs to be done at some point. My thoughts are for the red structure that is looked like an appropriate proposal to do at some point. Not urgent enough that we need to shoehorn it into this year's budget. And as for the other structure with the cat resting on top, I think the rust is part of the sculpture, and what they were proposing was just not appropriate at all. So getting nodding head, we're not prepared to vote on any of that one tonight. Okay. Okay, yeah, and we had some resident input also basically agreeing that there's better ways to restore those sculptures when the time comes, but again, not urgent. Something that is urgent is the next item, the proposal from Sun Deck and Dock. There were two proposals. One was for like a complete renovation of the docks, and the other one was a much smaller scope focused on repairing the dock in front of the boathouse that was washed out in Hurricane Milton. That was, if you have it, that was for $13,070. I think that is, I mean, we have budget for
Potentially a safety issue as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a safety issue. I think that one, do we have any other discussion we'd like to have before voting on that?
I think it's really important, obviously super safety issue, but does it make sense to vote on it without having another proposal? Something else to compare it to? We have no baseline.
Okay, that's valid. With my my opinion on that is that for that repair, I was expecting it to possibly come in higher. So I was at least on the surface comfortable with that, but that is absolutely right. We can it'd be keeping the kayaks closed for another month, but potentially several months with the transition that's about to be happening. How long will it take for us to get another vendor in here, get them to quote and everything?
I mean, yeah, but when was the last time a kayak was even reserved?
Well, they can't right now. If David, could you give us just your take on, as you were involved in getting that proposal, if Jennifer, if we could pass the microphone over to David, what would be involved in getting a competing proposal for those emergency dock repairs?
And also the timeline of that, please.
Dan, can you repeat yourself again, please? My original involvement was, I know that Joseph ever asked for some vendors, and that's the quote we got for the kayak repair.
Right. Brittany's point was, what would it take to have just from another vendor, a competing proposal that we could then weigh the benefits and choose the one that's the best price and overall value for the residents?
You just have to reach out to other ones that do similar work and see if they're interested. They have to get out here, look at it. So maybe a couple of months before you get more than one qualified responsive bidder to entertain.
If I could, I seem to recall Joseph reached out to 4 companies, and this was okay. I think Joseph told me that he reached out to 4 different companies to give quotes for this job, and this was the only company that responded. And this is a chronic issue here in Harmony because a lot of companies have so much work right now that they're going to take the ones that are closer to them Not that we can't find someone or shouldn't keep trying, but it is an issue. So we can check with Joseph.
That, definitely heard that from Joseph, from other members of the board, that it's difficult to get companies to even come out and bid us. I've not had that experience myself, and past board members have also sort of expressed that that's maybe not necessarily the case. So do you have like documentation of the 4 that you submitted requests to? Just so we know maybe not to reach out to those same guys.
Microphone.
Okay, so you called them on the phone to get a proposal?
The one that actually proposed the
Yep,
bid.
here's the mic.
The one that actually proposed the bid was from a vendor that Raul had reached out to and got the consensus of. He actually went out there. Yeah.
Right, so I'm just saying like the 4 companies, though, you called them by phone to
Yes.
see if they could. Okay, so maybe we could do that again, maybe via email, a little bit more of a formal proposal. So, you know, we have documentation that we reached out, we tried to get the proposals, maybe that would make a little more sense.
And
My
I
thought.
think it'll get easier because we had the supply chain and all those issues there for a few years, and I think things are evening out. So I'm not saying we shouldn't try, but
So
day may come that we can't have everything.
I will reiterate what Dan was saying earlier, that if we don't do this, which I think it's a reasonable price based on my experience, and we could postpone this for 90 days to 4 or 5 months, and then we would not have the capability to have any kayaks out. And it could also cause a safety issue. If kids are out there, they jump the fence and they get hurt on that, then that's our liability. So I'm more inclined to approve this and get it fixed.
Okay, how about Julie? Yeah. Just microphone.
For me, it's a safety issue and it should be fixed immediately. Same as like when we approved to get the trees down immediately so it doesn't fall on someone's house. So for me, get it done. Then if we don't get it done, then there might be complaints that nobody can use anything because it's not fixed. So
Okay, I will move to approve the proposal of $13,070 for repairing the dock in front of the boathouse with Sun Deck and Dock LLC.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, Supervisor Cornell was opposed, but the motion passes. The next several items were about the sidewalk repairs. My thought was the proposal from Precision. They were the ones that had the much, it was less expensive. It was the shaving approach that, yes, maybe it didn't fix every single one, but took care of the vast majority, the fastest and with the lowest cost overall. My thought was that we start with that, and then depending on which, once they're done that work and we have a list of which sidewalk joints were so large that they weren't able to fix, then come in with, we had a proposal from Infomark. I forget what the branch of Infomark was that was offering to do that. We could recompete that if we need to, but as far as taking care of the majority of sidewalk issues on just Catbrier, I would be comfortable with moving forward with Precision, having them treat that one street and see how we like those results.
how much was Precision?
It ranges depending on how high each of the slopes are. But from the quote, we could be at like 79K to about 80K. And just for reference, like if we were to replace all those slabs, it would be like $300,000. Like, so we're trying to choose an approach that will eliminate the slopes and people falling and tripping over them while reducing the cost to the community.
Oh, okay. Sorry, now I see it. I didn't page down enough, sorry.
Right.
Yeah, so it ranges depending on the slope of those intersections where the roots are colliding into the slabs. But from the quote we got, it could range from 79,000 to I believe 89,000. Correct me. I think I misspoke the last one.
Now, a question for Infomark. Has there been any communication with Precision? Okay, so they did update, that they gave us the extension on the pricing.
They did until 2 days from now, and this would be a deciding factor for them. So we would have 2 days to make a decision, or I'm sorry, we would have 2 days to let them know the decision that happens tonight.
Right. Okay. And that's just a, in their pricing structure, part of it was if we elect to wait, then that's a higher cost for doing the same job. Again, I've made my thoughts known. How about the rest of the board?
I think this is something that the residents have expressed several times. It's a safety concern. We've seen people get hurt. We've seen people on the forum upset about it. My only so if this had been a month ago, I probably would have voted yes. I will say I'm going to vote no right now, only because I don't know how much sense it makes for us to get into a contract with a third-party vendor with Infomark as a middleman during this transition. So I'm going to vote no.
Okay. So answering the question from the floor, yes, we had several quotes from another external company. Some of the approaches were more of like the cut and cover kind of repair of, there's a few different approaches. So yes, we did have several competing vendors. My question would be, oh, that's better. My question would be for district council, if this is a known safety issue, are we, well, what are your thoughts knowing that we're entering a 2-month period of transition? I believe the period of performance on this contract was much less than that. It's a kind of in and out type of job with how they do the shaving of the sidewalks. What are your thoughts on potentially delaying a repair for what's been reported to us as a safety issue based on the management and field services transition?
Well, as long as the safety issues are marked clearly so people can avoid the hazard, then you could go ahead and defer it. But if they're not marked clearly, then it's something that you should take care of right away. I'll tell you the thing that you might want to balance, and I think it's a legitimate concern that was raised about, doing something within the last 2 months. You're also going to have a concern with doing something in the first 2 months of the next group who's getting acclimated here. So just, again, you all make the business decision, but that's another consideration that you should think about. I mean, obviously, I'm always going to tell you that you should, fix a known hazard. But if you mark it, that does buy you some time to get it done.
But just to be clear, I think last meeting, Raul said those were all marked. Okay.
Okay.
Just so we have that.
All right. Well,
So the quote here says with their method, it can be done within 7 days max. So I know everyone's doesn't want anything involved with Infomark, and that's fine, whatever. But we have engineers, we have people that can inspect these things to make sure that these things are done correctly. And if anybody was here when the lady presented her quote, she was very knowledgeable, she was very smart. And I don't think we're going to need Infomark to go and inspect it. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward process. So I'm for getting this fixed. It's been long overdue. And I think the residents have also, complained about this for a long time. So postponing this for another 30, 60, 90 days, we're going to continue to hear their complaints. And I say we just pull the trigger and get it fixed.
Fair points.
Okay. Joe, Julie, any other thoughts?
Well, I was just going to say, I know we have our frustrations with Infomark, but when it comes to something like this, I really don't think that they would do anything wrong because what they have to do is put out the request for work and then pay the bill when it's over, essentially. I mean, they can't stiff us on that because they don't have access to the money the way it's set up. So I don't see a real risk there, and they're still going to be around for 60 days. So right. I mean, I don't have any concerns that way.
The comment was council will already be involved with handling and executing that contract with this vendor. So we are protected as a community.
Just to be clear, council's handling the contract or you guys are?
Council can handle your contract.
can or are? Like, who's handling this
It,
contract?
it just depends if he's going to put an addendum on top of it or not, on top of the
Do
proposal.
we need an addendum? Do we need to bill
That
more
would,
legal
that would be
hours?
between you and your counsel.
Okay, so
I would, I'm sorry, go ahead, but I do want to speak to this.
Yep. Go ahead, Mike.
So I would strongly recommend you not just blindly sign proposals that are written by the company for their benefit. There are certain things in terms of insurance and indemnification and public records laws. There are statutes out there that require you to require them to sign an affidavit saying they're not engaged in human trafficking. So there's various statutory requirements that you have and insurance requirements you should make any vendor have. And so we would at least want to do an addendum or an agreement. Obviously, that's a business decision for the board. If they don't want us involved in any of that, we're happy not to, but understand that you probably will be signing a contract that is not written for your benefit.
No, and we've had you guys handle, many such contracts for us in the past to make sure that we are being protected from either, poor workmanship or any other, delivery or quality of the service issues. So, right, that's why we have district representation. So,
but also our legal keeps going up every month, every year. So it would make sense. I mean, and I don't know, right? I'll be the first to admit, this is my first year sitting here. I don't know all the ins and outs, but my common sense tells me every single contract that we get, especially as, Infomark as our management company, I would think it's their job to have our best interests, go over those contracts. That's what we're paying them for, is to manage all this. So then it seems like.
Can we get back to the sidewalk?
In
Yeah,
certain
well-
cases, I could see how it would make sense to send something to legal. I just don't see how it makes sense to send every single contract or every single bit that we're getting to legal to add an addendum.
and I agree with that. Sorry, Jennifer, go ahead.
If I can, a lot of times these companies don't give us a contract. They give you a proposal. And so it is expected that the district council will draft one in your best interest to make sure all the things that Mike said are covered. So if you all want to move forward with just signing a proposal that doesn't have all of those items in there, we can go back and ask for them all day, but it doesn't mean that they're going to put them in there.
Right. So my follow-up question for Mike was, so given, and I guess this is maybe a joint question for Infomark, if we notify them of our intent to proceed pending our legal ratification or impossible adjustment to the contract, that we'd still get that favorable pricing. Okay, Joseph said that the company would have to be asked. Mike, is given that they have a, whatever you want to call it, a limitation on their pricing. Has council reviewed this contract already? And if not, what kind of length of time do you expect that would take up?
I mean, if it's important for the board to get the best price, I can turn it around and get you something tomorrow. I don't mind doing that. I've got other stuff I got to do, but I'll push it aside and do that. But if it's somebody who wants to establish a long-term business relationship with you, I would suggest the approach should be the board votes in favor of it, provided that they hold the pricing. We notify them that the board voted in favor, subject to them holding the pricing, and we'll be getting them a contract for them to review within the next few days. That would be my recommendation.
And that sounds good to me. Rest of the board?
For it.
Okay, yeah, he was saying that this is just one street that we want them to treat. We want to have a potentially long-term relationship with this vendor for repairing all of our sidewalks. So kind of a, you scratch my back, I scratch yours kind of thing. Say we accept the proposal for tonight and intend to move forward with them on the condition that they hold that pricing for us, possibly for more than a couple of days, but not, a month or two, while our district council goes over the contract, make sure everything, we're protected and everything looks favorable, all the statutory requirements are being met, and then proceed with getting cap wire fixed, and if the performance is good, the remaining streets. So I will move to proceed with precision sidewalks as laid out in the, let's see. if Infomark can clarify, we had to, was there a selection criteria on like what subset we had to, have them do, or is this more, just pricing on what they find when they actually go out to start it?
According to Amanda, it's according to what they find when they go out there. They've already located a number of hazards as they list them. But if any, within the scope of the proposal, any additional hazards that they see, they will take care, no additional charge.
Okay. And this is all in the agenda if you want to look at it. Basically, they give what the dimensions are of the gap that they'd be repairing and the number of those that have already been identified. So I move to accept the proposal from Precision Sidewalks.
You want to put
An
a,
amount not to exceed
right,
85,290.
right.
And that's on the condition of them maintaining that pricing for the time it takes for our district council to review the contract.
I'll second.
Okay, do we have any other discussion or adjustments to the motion? All right,
I just want to say that everyone's safety is number one, and we've had people fall and everything else, so.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, Joe, you wanted to?
Sorry, I'm not understanding which table you're referring to.
Okay, it's,
We have four of them.
yeah, the four tables are all based on how many, how many of what size gaps they find and fix.
Just for clarification, Joseph, and then for Mark, Dan was referencing table 2, pricing for 695 hazards.
Right, as a not to exceed. It might end up being less than that. So all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, Supervisor Cornell is opposed, but the motion carries. Next agenda item. Okay, discussion of the preliminary fiscal year 2026 budget. Yeah.
Didn't we have a proposal that were we not going to discuss it? The one that actually took out the panels that were lifted up and fixed the roots and put the
Yes,
ones?
we did. And with Precision, they would be taking care of the vast majority of sidewalk issues. Once they are done, then there'd be a much smaller number that need to be addressed with the remove and replace. No, is that? Go ahead, Joseph.
I thought that's
Yeah,
what I
because the ones that are lifted up,
Essentially what the company would be doing is a larger scale of what we're already doing in the field. We're doing sidewalk grinding. They have a larger machine to do that. It doesn't get rid of the hazard, doesn't get rid of the root that's pushing it. So in a year, it could lift up again and you'll be faced with the same situation.
Right, but what Dan is referencing is there's some sidewalk panels that are unable to be fixed the way they do it with their precision alignment.
Yes.
Those would be marked and we would have to meet up and determine how we want to fix those, if we need a new slab and take out all the root, and we re-quote that is what Dan said.
Eventually, yeah. Yeah. So that, yes.
but don't we already have several where the panel has lifted completely up and the roots are up?
There are some, the proposals that we looked at were for doing the entire length. And to that end, where we have the vendor that is able to take care of most of them, the thinking with going with them was then once they've done that, then there will only be a small number of the ones they couldn't. And then we come in with proposals from the same or possibly other.
So are we going to close the sidewalks where it's lifted up 8 inches?
If there are extreme cases like that, that seems like something we
See,
should.
that's why I don't understand why we're waiting on those, because to me, those are the largest safety issue.
So Joe, there's two things you're kind of explaining. There's the incline of the 2 panels, and then there's the gap from one panel to the other at the peak of those. And so what they do is they grind those down. You're still going to have somewhat of an incline, but there's going to be no trip hazard. And you can look at the quote and it shows how they do it. Just look at it.
Okay, but I think Joe was talking about the ones that are greater than 2 inches, which Precision is not going to, that's too much of a gap to treat by shaving.
Well, there's one on Schoolhouse Road that I've been working with Raul and the gentleman that lives there, and I don't think there's anything that can be done at his house other than lifting up those concrete, the cement panels, cutting the root and then putting down, and maybe saving those panels, but then laying them back down.
And there's a giant one on Dark Sky, Brittany, coming in, that
Yeah.
that I think the intent here was to get all the estimates side by side for Catbrier, which we did, and we have an approach that we are going to attempt.
Mhm.
Yes, there are more. I mean, there are many more sidewalks through the community, some needing more attention than others. What this first group of proposals was to get Catbrier dealt with, and
Right, no, I
not saying we won't,
understand,
but
we were also going to take care of some of those others.
I agree, but that would be more proposals. I mean,
Yeah,
these are
okay.
all side by side of just apples to apples comparison as best we could of
Yeah,
fixing
all
Catbrier.
right.
So yes, we need to do that.
Maybe next month we could get some proposals for those 10 or 12 spots around the neighborhood that need new panels.
If there's time with everything else going on.
Yeah.
Because we have the management shuffle
Well,
happen.
then excuse me, perhaps we should put yellow tape around them.
I mean, if there are, can I get an answer from field services on like what was involved in marking the ones on Catbrier and what it would take to mark the remaining sidewalks?
Could you repeat that question one more time?
Okay, so we have the sidewalk gaps that we're starting to get treated. They've been marked on Catbrier. What would be involved in doing similar markings on the remaining sidewalks? Is that what was the length of time for that being done?
Is there any sidewalk issues that are not highlighted or?
No, not in the other street, just Five Oak and Cap Bryant, and also Schoolhouse Road. Those are the ones that I focus based on phase 1, 2, and 3, which those are the sidewalks that are more transit by all the residents around the community. But definitely, if you would like me to go over inside like the community, I can definitely go ahead and start working that on next week. Push on caution tape is needed, or mark them as well.
I think the main concern is Schoolhouse, Catbrier, and Five Oaks, where that's all the old houses and sidewalks that have been built. So can we just double check those and highlight and mark them if there's any ones that haven't been?
Yeah, for sure. I can take
highlighted?
care of that. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Joe. All right. On to the budget discussion. All right, Brittany, I understand you had been, I don't know if you want to start with what you had been, I mean, we're all here to talk about this.
Could I just say one thing before we start that?
Sure.
I just wanted to make it clear. Last month, there were many, many people waiting to speak. It was 8 o'clock. We had not finished the budget yet. Dan made the motion to close it out with what was presented to us so that we could file it with the county on time. We had a June 15th deadline to get that filed. None of us intended for that to be the final budget. And I just wanted to mention that because a lot of people think that I voted for a 13% raise. I did not. Dan did not, and Lucas did not. We voted to close the meeting because all of you were standing outside to come in for the 6 o'clock, and we needed to close the budget meeting in order for that. And we were still well within our time limits to get the budget filed. So at least that was my understanding, and that's how I based my vote. And I'm pretty sure because that's how Dan introduced it when he made the motion. So I just wanted to kind of say that.
But also, just to be clear, the reason we were rushed was because we had that June 15th deadline that legal made very, very clear that night. And so we approved the budget with no changes so that it can go through and be filed on time. And somehow still, Infomark missed the boat and didn't file on time. And now we're scrambling. But just so we're clear, that's what happened.
I believe they filed on time.
They didn't.
Right.
And,
Yeah,
and can you just explain why we didn't file on time?
It just didn't get filed on time after we made some adjustments as far as the things that we needed to tweak on our end. So that's why we had to move the public hearing.
There
I
were
believe the 4th.
There were no
Okay.
adjustments, so if you could just clarify what tweaks you had to make. We didn't make any. We passed, well, the board passed it because of that, just to get it in, and it didn't get in.
I will have to get the exact,
Because I
what
sent like
exactly it was.
I sent
from
about 3 or
finance.
4 emails asking for like
Uh-huh.
clarification
Right.
there, and I didn't get that. So you still don't have that information?
Well, I did also tell you that at the end of the day, it's still management.
I know. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
verbatim, well, at the end of the day, management just didn't get it in time. And that's what I'm getting from management. Like, oh, well, like we dropped the ball, get over it. And
Well,
that's kind of the energy we've
well,
gotten.
Okay, well, hold.
It has been
Yeah,
turned
Mr.
in,
Chairman.
and so we can just move forward from here.
Can you say that again for me? The deadline was June 15th
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, can I
and you
clarify?
filed it on June 4th. Is that what you
What day did
said?
it get filed? Yes.
So it was filed on time.
Can I clarify? Because I think we're talking
Please.
past each other. So the legal deadline is June 15th. The deadline to send it to the county in order to keep the budget hearing that you all agreed on, it would have had to have been sent on that Friday. So legally, you're in compliance, but sending it late has caused us to move our budget hearing into August. So I think we've been talking about two different things. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes, so that's the public hearing for the adoption of the final budget, which, yes,
Correct.
the intent was to have it at our regular July meeting. This meeting has always been, with the proposed budget passed, this meeting has always been penciled in for making this adjustment that we're trying to do right now. And then it was the final adoption that had to be pushed into the first week of August based on not the legal deadline being missed, but the deadline being missed for having it at our regular July meeting.
Right. And just so we're clear, why did we miss that deadline?
There's nothing to say. Infomark,
Okay, no, because they're saying that they didn't miss the deadline.
they didn't miss the legal deadline of
Right.
June 15th. They missed the next day deadline that had to be done for, and
For us
again,
to get our
there's,
budget meeting. Now,
I-
now our budget meeting was pushed back to August. And
yes.
all of this comes into play because now these guys are out of here in a couple of days. They're pretty much already checked out and have been. And now what?
Okay. This.
Yes, to adopt the budget that we have
Okay.
to get in.
I think we're wasting time.
Yes,
beating a dead horse.
there is a firm date for the end of the relationship between the Harmony CDD and Infomark. Anything we say about that's not going to change that. So what we do need to do is focus on what changes we want to make to the budget. And one thing I will say, this proposal that we're going to be talking about later on is an RFP. We have numbers that are in the budget based on what Infomark was going to be charging. We have no concept of how much above or below those numbers the replacement management company is going to be charging us. So I hate to disappoint people. We're not going to be able to have a hard line. We cut your budget back this much this month tonight. It would be irresponsible for us to kneecap ourselves and give us limited flexibility on what management company we now need to get in here to take over from Infomark 60 days from today. So we can talk about what line items we are interested in reining back, but as far as like a bottom line pulling back from the proposed 13% O&M increase, I don't think it would be responsible for us to make any kind of promise on that tonight until we have proposals in hand for new management and field services.
I've gotten 2 other bids already.
Okay.
What are the price points?
I'm sorry?
What are the prices?
$100,000 less than what Infomark is charging.
Okay. That's so if you would like to speak to the budget items.
We got 2 separate bids. They came out, they did basically apples to apples to our current contract. And that is basically the median is what I use to fill in my budget. So that's what I base my numbers off of.
Do we know what the company's name is?
I do know what the company's name is. I can share the proposal with you.
Can you say out loud?
It's Rosada. A lot of the residents already know because they've asked. So Rosada is one of them. There's another one that is not, it's called Leland. It doesn't do CDDs right now. They've done CDDs in the past. They mostly do HOAs. They have expressed interest almost in taking on CDDs again and want to take on Harmony. I'm not saying that that's a route we're going to go since they don't currently have any CDDs, but they've also, agreed to be very competitive with their pricing. But the point is that we have options, a lot of them.
Okay. So getting to the specific, okay. Getting to the specifics of the budget, and I will forward this question to legal. I mean, we have we started the process of putting together a RFP to formalize everything that we want our new management and field services company to be handling. We have a couple of amendments that we need to discuss with that, but I'm interested to hear what other changes we want to make to the budget.
Well, no, I mean, you're the chairman and the decision was that today it was going to be trimmed. So I'll let you guys lead and see where you were thinking about trimming. And then I can kind of give my inputs.
I'm fully aware that you have been putting in a lot of extra legwork into this. I made a post, you know, there was some line items that we wouldn't be able to adjust tonight. Again, potentially, these are things that we could at the next meeting pull out completely, depending on what we.
So
find out.
you think that, just so I'm understanding correctly, you feel that one of those line items that we can't change is under professional service, management consulting services and field services. Do you feel like those are two that we can't tweak? Because that's what I'm hearing.
I would urge caution with, yeah, I'm not discrediting any of the proposals that you have secured, but we don't even have the formal RFP yet. So
Sure.
what was bid may not line up with what we finalize as what we as a board want to advertise for. So,
Understood.
and until those all line up.
I said we can go ahead and start. And, you know, I know that, like I said, you wanted to trim in some areas, so we can kind of just take it from there. I'll let you lead.
Well, maybe by this time next month, we'll have some formal proposals.
Okay, we have the item on up for discussion right now is adjustments to the budget. Nothing is being finalized right now, but we also don't want to be trying to cram a lot of adjustments to the budget right before the deadline at our August 7th meeting. So if we have specific things we want to discuss and you're saying you've done work, let's discuss them.
I mean, I can go. I'm just wondering, everybody said here, everybody else said that we were trimming today. So I was just curious as to where you guys were thinking we were trimming. I trimmed a lot, obviously.
Okay.
I cut $500,000 out of the budget.
If we could pass the microphone over to David, there had been an outstanding question on mitigation issues. Do we have an update on that?
And Dan, you're referring to the wetland mitigation issues?
Yes.
Yes, Catherine Bowman, which is our wetland scientist. She's recovering from hip surgery. She'll be back out in a couple of weeks to finish her wetland monitoring investigation. She will then finish her wetland monitoring report and tell us whether or not there's the old world climbing fern is under control or needs additional treatments. So it's too premature at this point to see if it's going to go up or down.
Okay, and it was too premature last month as well. That's unfortunate. I mean, the act of saying we don't want to set aside that much money for this expense that we may or may not need. That is, and this is going to Infomark because it's still going to be you guys in charge of the budget. If it's adjusting that one line item and saying, okay, well, we're not setting aside this much, we're setting aside a fraction of that, or we're setting aside zero because we underspent it this year. What's involved in making that change, and what assurance do we have that it's not going to lead to another deadline being missed? Microphone.
So your budget is very easily laid out now. There was, I know, a lot of confusion at the last one with it. So essentially, you know, what you end up adopting, you can't go up from there. You can only go down, so you can lower any line item, or you can move those funds to a different line item if you want to do that. And that's something we can do in real time now while we're sitting here. So it would be done
So I think.
at that day in the meeting. I would move it.
I think an easy one to talk about is our legal counsel services and how that's going to impact for going forward with the new management company, legal documents, guidance, and if Mike can chime in on what our numbers now, and with the flat fee rate of $3,500 a month going away, can you give us some insight there, Mike?
Yeah, so the $3,500 going away won't make much difference because that only applied when we attended the board meetings in person. And I think I've attended maybe one in the last, I don't know, 8-9 months, something like that. So that's really not going to have much of an impact. And let me just say something about budgets too. And that's your tool. You're the ones that make the business decisions. The budget is your tool. I don't pay a lot of attention to that, because that's up to you guys and it's your tool. I do the work that you all ask me to do. And so I don't look at the budget to figure out, can I do the work? Can I not do the work? I will tell you that in my experience, and I've dealt with probably over a dozen transitions of management companies, what invariably happens is the new company comes in, even if they're the best company in the state, they don't have historical knowledge. And they don't have the knowledge of the community. And so they lean heavily on both the engineer and legal counsel to help get them up to speed. So if it's like all the others, your legal fees and your engineering fees over, that first 6 months of them being here will be more. But again, the budget's your tool. I don't care what you guys put in it. You put in whatever you think is appropriate. But I think that when you have a transition, it's expensive. Dysfunction is expensive. And certainly right now, if you're going to go through this transition, you may or may not save with a new management company, because the RFP has to go out. And one of the things we need to talk about is whether or not it has to be competitively bid or whether or not it can be informally bid. And that's based on whether or not you have over $195,000 worth of maintenance activities baked into that contract. And we'll talk about that when we get to that. But, my thoughts on the budget are, if you're going to go through a transition, you're probably not going to save money on professional fees. So that's just been my experience.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay. Do we have any other comments from the board? Just to mentioning what I described as placeholder values, probably the other one that we've always used traditionally is what we call reserve contribution, and that is to cover basically unexpected expenditures for maintenance or replacement of infrastructure as it ages, wears down. We basically make the final adjustments to that reserve contribution to kind of set what our final number on either leveling out the budget, or if there is a small increase, what that works out to be, since that is we have the most flexibility with that. So of those, we're by law, we're not going to go into any detail on discussing security systems. We'll have a shade session at the next month meeting where we will maybe see some proposals, maybe make any kind of decision with that information that we don't have yet. And it could be that we take no action and dial that back to zero. That's a possible outcome. But until we've had that shade session, I don't think there's any thing constructive I can say on security monitoring services. We've heard that invasive monitoring, we underspent that considerably this year, but until we have the definitive answer on if we have been meeting our statutory requirements and can maintain that lower spend, that would be the second line item that we could potentially claw back. And then there's a reserve contribution that's kind of the final decision point on what do we want to say was the bottom line increase or lack of increase to the budget based on tweaking those final numbers. So those are the three things that I had kind of said were placeholders, things that we were planning to claw back. And again, the great disappointment of the audience that we're not able to claw back on any of those potentially tonight. But if you have, you're saying you've put work into finding other things you'd like to trim. I would echo Mike's. I'm not expecting any of our professional services to end up being lower as a result of needing to go through this transition, but I'm open to hearing other ideas.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had the security monitoring $100,000. Absolutely not. I had that as heck no. We were talked into doing the flock system last year.
And
There's certain things that I can discuss, but everybody knows we had a flock system installed. I'm not going to violate any shade session laws, but I am going to say what I need to say, which is that we were convinced to do that flock, the board was convinced to do that flock system last year, and it was an epic failure. Like one of the residents said, the two instances where like it would have put its money where its mouth was, it was an epic fail. So it does us no good. The same thing with, I think it was the way Joseph explained it, some sort of emergency vote that you and him put together for some other cameras after an incident we had. That was another epic fail. Thousands of dollars that just were, I mean, again, I can't violate any shade sessions, but where are the cameras? What happened to the cameras? They're just gone. They're missing. We can't talk about where they're placed, yet somehow somebody knew where all the cameras were placed and were stolen. And then we're going to approve another 100,000 to have them allocate to that. Absolutely. I mean,
no, we're not.
For me, it's no.
We're not. And we can't, I don't think this is a productive conversation because we have no other basis to make adjustments to that number. It was put in there as a placeholder because we wanted to have a shade session back in the,
Yeah, so that's
the April meeting.
$100,000 from my budget cut right there.
Okay.
It's gone.
Let's keep going.
Okay. The reserves, that $280,000, from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that had been allocated for the maintenance facility building that Infomark had requested, right?
It's general reserves. It's for any.
Right, but we had a conversation, I think it was last meeting, about how we had engineer come out, set the address, do all that, and those were the funds that we were allocating for that building.
That we started to set aside for, yes, over a year ago, because we
Right.
had with the trailer that was not permitted with the county, was not able to be where it was. Had
Yeah,
to be
that
moved.
whole RV thing, that's a whole nother line item, but the $280,000 allocated for that, the reserves, which we had discussed as a board was designated for that building. I cut that to 250, so that took out 30,000. Just because I don't think we're in a place, if we're adding a 13%, of course, it would be nice to buff up the reserves, but at what cost? At a 13.5% increase, we do what we can. We're going to work within our means. And so to avoid that, yeah, I cut $30,000 there in my proposed budget.
Can I tell you what the reserve fund is also for things in the future, like if we need a new truck and
Well, we have line items for that, for truck, for vehicle maintenance. We have separate line items.
there's only 15,000 in it though, and if we don't spend it, so it's not adding in, so it's really part of the reserve. But in the alleyway, we're gonna have another alleyway repaving project coming up. Probably not for another year or two, we can put it off, but
Jennifer,
so
Joseph, you guys
the
have.
280,000 is a general reserve fund. But yes, we were probably gonna spend all of it on the community maintenance building. But it wasn't just for that, is all I was trying to
Right.
clarify.
I understand the
Yeah.
reserve category. What I'm saying is that the board had sort of already decided that that's where those funds were going.
It was set at that level in anticipation of having this large project. That
Right.
would, like, well, as with the alleys, it's,
Right.
and rather than, using,
Well, we're not doing that anymore, right? Because last meeting, I think after asking a couple times, I think Infomark sort of blatantly let us know, no, it's not a need. We just want it. And I'm not going to obviously vote for a building for Infomark to hold their stuff when our residents don't even have like a clubhouse or something. Like we're going to build a building for them to hang out in an AC. Like I'm not doing that.
oh, okay, hold.
Well,
Can we have?
I mean, maybe I'm wrong. What was it was a maintenance building for Infomark, right? So that they
It
don't
was
have to
for
be
field
the-
services.
Right. Right.
It was
field
before Infomark even was involved with field services. There was a place where Harmony Field Services was able to have a computer and be able to have, sign people in and out, have stuff stored that shouldn't be in an outside shipping container.
Right.
A
But
place
the
to
idea of this maintenance building was so that Infomark wouldn't be at the office in the
Field
little.
services,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, yes, field services. Okay.
whoever is
They're Infomark
Whoever's
right
looking
now,
at
but
this.
yes, field services wouldn't be there.
David. Yes.
Dan, we were going to talk about this under my agenda. This has been ongoing for 3 years. Prior chairman, past chairman, and this board, we made a decision with all the different alternatives. I never indicated this was a dead project. In fact, we moved forward with my report last month that the survey, geotech, and the engineer record was going to proceed forward. So I'm really confused with this misunderstanding. It's a dead project.
Did we not decide that last month?
We discussed, we asked Infomark what their thoughts were, and considering that we are not going to have Infomark doing field services in the very near future, personally, I'm a little concerned of what the impact of that is going to be on the field service proposals that we receive if we don't even have a designated storage place, a staging area, any of these things that were put in place for field services many years ago were removed and have been kind of done in an ad hoc, concession area, the Ashley Park pool and shipping containers in the storage area. If that's my honest thought, is I'm concerned of how that will impact someone from the outside coming in and wanting to provide field services, and we don't even have an office that they can, have their staff sign in and out and
I mean, they do have an office, and I'll end it here because for that one line item, I cut $30,000 from the budget, but they do have an office. And at the end of the day, we have options. Somebody wants to take on the big contract that we can offer, and they're going to take it even if they don't have a nice fancy facility building to work out of. They have an office that they can work out of. I mean, so I cut $30,000 there, but we can move on. Obviously,
Jennifer, quick, can you give us an update on our reserve balance? Do you have that handy?
If you give me just a minute to look at your financials, if you guys want to continue, and I'll give it to you in just a minute.
Okay. So I just want to kind of give the residents a kind of a historical background on how the budget's transpired over the last 10 years. I was going to provide some detailed analysis on that. But since 2015 to about 2021, there was no increase in the budget at all. Very minimal were put into reserves and savings. And when things popped up, they had to pull from those. So right now, well, back when inflation started, we had to increase rates and we had these huge projects, and we spent $700,000 on an alleyway on some of the streets overrun off of Catbrier. And now we have, from what I remember on the last meeting, we have about $500,000 in reserves. If we needed to fix everything in our community, we probably wouldn't have enough money. And that's basically the truth. I mean, and you guys can disagree with me or you can agree with me or not, but we don't have a lot of money in savings. And so we need to preserve our savings account. And I know people don't like increases in the budget. I don't either. But not to do it is being financially irresponsible. And we have to save the money in case things happen. That's my
disagree,
opinion.
because we have, like Lucas said, almost $500,000 in the budget. I'm not suggesting we cut the reserve fund. I'm not suggesting we cut that line item, and I'm not suggesting we go in there and spend whatever's in there already. I'm saying we're just trimming it down since we're not planning for this large building anymore. And that takes away from the increase that goes to all of us.
We also have a 20-year-old pool that needs resurfacing. That's probably $100,000 or more. There's these things that pop up that we need to take care of, and we can't pick and choose which one we're going to fix because we don't have enough money.
Yeah, that's what fiscally responsible people do. They pick and choose what's important. You can't do everything at one time.
Okay. Well, when people are complaining about the tiles falling off and the pavers are disgusting and the chairs that we haven't approved yet, which are around $80,000, these things cost money and we're a very old community and things are falling apart. We need to fix these things.
And so we have to make a list of all the things that need to be done and prioritize them. But we can't just increase everybody's budget because all of a sudden, oh, budget wasn't increased for years. So now we're just going to hit everybody with these ridiculous raises every year to catch up for it. No, that's not how it works.
I'm not saying that.
That's not fiscally responsible either.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying we need to raise rates to contain our savings account. We can't just drain everything.
There's no who here has suggested draining the accounts? I'm adding $250,000. There's no draining.
So I have that number for you now, Lucas. It's $422,395. And you're correct. We've seen a lot of pool resurface things. They're $100,000 or more.
Okay. Brittany, do you want to?
Oh.
Go.
Is that making it, is it working? Okay, sorry. I have a copy of the old reserve study form that I came across in my notes. And that was one of the things that during supervisor requests, I was going to ask if the board, I don't know how we can do it, but I would love for us to be able to sit down and go through all of these things and make a new one. And so we know what things are coming up. So it's a lot easier to work on a budget because we're sitting here and we don't have all of the numbers, and some of them are too high, some maybe are too low. I would also like for us to formulate a new line items for our budget to make it clearer, because there's $15,000 for vehicles in the budget, which was meant to be towards buying a new vehicle at some point. But that money, it doesn't get used this year. Well, it just fades off and it's not getting sent over to the reserve fund, which is really, I think, what it was intended to do. So,
Well, no, if the money was in the budget and was, we have a, balanced budget, we collected that money and it was put into, if it was earmarked for $15,000 a year for a vehicle, maybe we only buy a vehicle every 3 years and it costs $45,000. So that evens it out.
right, but we can't see that in the numbers because of the way it's laid out is what I'm getting at. So I think it'd be great for us to be able to sit down and do all this, because here's the old reserve study and it shows the equipment and the things with the pools, the roofs, the eaves, the painting. And then it shows the life expectancy of each one. And then we could kind of, go from there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't have time to do that before the budget. So
Yeah, and I've referenced the reserve study over the years as well. We had the unfortunate timing of doing it in, I believe, 2021. So the dollar values are not super accurate,
right.
but it is still a useful tool in terms of how much property the CDD owns, the age of those different items, and what the expected time of replacement for those different items, pools, fixtures, vehicles, whatever. So we can try and plan our reserve saving to accommodate those unexpected costs as they come up. So
just for fun, it shows the picnic tables, a cost of $8,840. And this was 2021, and that meant
Right.
they needed to be replaced in 2 years. So we're already 2 years out,
Right.
but the price is about quadruple.
again, yeah, it's only an estimate. So it's
No, I know, but I was just pointing that out.
okay. So Brittany, do you have other?
More,
Yes.
yes. Okay, so vehicle and equipment, I think a couple people pointed out there's two. So maybe Infomark, you guys can clarify for me. Cap outlay, what's the difference between that one and the other R&M vehicle equipment?
One's capital outlay means a new car, new truck.
Whoever's talking, use the microphone, please.
Okay, so we have 15,000 budgeted and we haven't spent any. Obviously, because that's only if we're gonna get a new car. Yeah, it's because one is R&M and one is cap outlay. But I cut that down to 5 because last meeting, I think we also asked, are we planning on getting a new vehicle this year? I think the answer was no. So if we had it, if we weren't proposing a 13.5 increase, sure, let's fluff everything. Let's beef everything up. But when that's not the case, I think that we have to, trim where we can. So I did trim that. Same thing with fuel and oil. We have $8,000 budgeted. We've spent 0 to date, and we're more than 6 months through the fiscal year. So how are we projected to now spend $8,000 in the last? Yeah, less than that. 3 months. So I put that down to 3,000 because obviously trending spends are not supporting that. Security enhancements, another 6,000. We've spent 31 and, yeah, I already said how I feel about security enhancements. I did budget 5 in case we need something, but I brought that down $1,000. Invasive plants, $105,000. I got several emails about this, so I'm gonna address it. I know it's near and dear to some people's hearts. I get it. $105,000 is what was budgeted. We spent 0 to date. So even if I didn't cut it all the way, I cut it from 105,000 to $50,000. So even if we spent only $50,000, that's still $50,000 more than we've spent in the last 8 months. There's no reason for it to be that high. Again, spending trends just don't support it.
I agree, and that was for the R&M invasive plant maintenance, 105,000, which our engineer spoke to earlier, that we don't have a definitive answer on yet, that if there's any justification to keep it that high. Again, with all these numbers, we have to set a ceiling because we are not allowed to go 1 penny over that number in the final budget. So I agree with the sentiment. We're just waiting on our, and David, yes, you have a thought on that? I think these microphones seem to be working well. We'll have 4 more of these for the next meeting, so we'll be able to have everyone just use these. These seem to be working a lot better than the lapel mics.
The other unknown cost is the damage that's been done already by the vandals we haven't caught yet, and that will be very expensive to restore that area once we get that under control. So that's another unknown.
Are you referring to the ponds? Or I'm sorry, what are you referring
The
to?
vandalism to the conservation areas.
Yes. The burnt down trees, the cut down trees.
That's our responsibility
it's our
to maintain that.
So
without-
what's the remedy there? Are we planting new trees that were cut down?
Yeah, set to go in there and plant new wetland mitigation trees, vegetation, and we'll be stuck with monitoring it, so.
Okay, and that falls under invasive plants, the same.
Would put under the same category, the 105 category.
Okay. Well, either way, like I said, we're 8 months in, $105,000 budgeted. We spend 0. We're not spending another $105,000 in 3 months. I put 50,000 and I thought I was being gracious. Sidewalk replacement, we have $20,000 that was budgeted. Obviously, we know that's going to be a lot higher, so I did account for $115,000 in that. The garden lot was 2,000 proposed. We've only spent 287. The $2,000 budget was proposed for the next year. I'm assuming just because that's what it was the year before, even though we're not, again, spending trends are not supporting that. I brought that down just $500 to $1,500. Parks and facilities, 45,000 was budgeted. We spent 42,309, 5,500, I'm sorry, 55,000 was budgeted, and I scaled that back a little bit to 50. Again, I'm giving us a little bit of an increase. I just don't know if, I don't think that we can afford to just throw on another 10,000. So I just did 5. Equipment and boats, $10,000 is budgeted. We've spent 0. Somehow, Infomark says that for the next 3 months, we're gonna spend those 10,000. I doubt it. I brought that down halfway to 5,000. Vehicles and equipment, same thing, $15,000 budgeted. We spent 0 to date, 15,000 is budgeted. I just brought it down to 5,000. Again, spending trends just don't support it. Streetlights, can I get just clarification on what that covers, please?
The streetlight
Streetlights under O&M?
microphone.
Like the decorative. If anything needs to be replaced in regards to the streetlights, that's what the R&M streetlights line would be.
Okay.
And again,
so-
these line items are set by the board, so we can remove or add anything that you'd like.
Great. So we have $10,000 budgeted. We didn't spend any on it this year. From what I can see from the previous trends, we haven't before. So I don't know why we have 10,000 budgeted there. I zeroed that out completely because again, spending trends don't support it. We just
And-
gotta reel it in.
I think you're right on that one, because I don't think we pay all that money to OUC, so I don't think we have R&M, and that doesn't get
Right,
spent.
because we have another line item for streetlights alone. That's
Right. Those are the
really high.
contracts, and that includes
The
their-
electricity.
like have a warranty or whatever the right word is for that.
Yeah. Roads and alleyways, we have, I brought that down too. We're already allocating over $100,000 to the sidewalks. I know that's not the same thing, but again, it's just a matter of prioritizing what's gonna be most important. We can't do everything at the same time. And if we want to keep the cost down, we just have to like figure out what's gonna be done first. And so I brought that down some. Pools, $60,000 budgeted. We've spent 24,000. So not even half of what's budgeted. And we have $60,000 budgeted left for the last 3 months. Obviously, I don't think we're gonna spend that. However, I did keep that line item the same, even those current spending trends haven't really supported it, because as we all know, our pools could use a little love. So I didn't bring that one down. I left it there and I figured we could use the extra money to, give the pool some love. The ponds in Buck Lake, we have, wait, I hope I have this number wrong. Oh, geez. Yeah, okay, I don't. $100,000 budgeted. We've spent 3,588. So yeah, again, spending trends don't support it. I brought it down just halfway. I'm still allocating $50,000 to ponds in Buck Lake. But $100,000, it just, again, it's not supported.
Yeah. I have a resident that told me that we don't even need a line item for that because it's a maintaining ecosystem, the ponds and lakes.
That would be ideal, but we do that line item is there, and I don't disagree that I'm sure it could be brought down. But if we ever have, and we've have had recent resident complaints of algae, ponds needing some chemical treatment for improving their appearance, that's what it's there for.
That's what
it was
$50,000 there for it,
okay.
because we've only spent 3. Refuse removal, we have 3,500 that was proposed. We spent 2. The board, on here is proposed 4,000. I just went somewhere in the middle. We're not spending that much. I cut 400. We could leave it at 36, and that still leaves us a little bit of wiggle room. Obviously, there's some things that are not changing. Our utility bills, electric, streetlights, water, sewage. There's really nothing we could do there. And then. So for landscape, I'm not even going to touch landscape because that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, landscape is contractually, we bid in there's a percentage fixed increase with the contract with the landscaper year by year.
Right, 3% increase. Okay. For field services, $425,792 is what's proposed. We've paid currently $387,084. So, obviously quite a bit of an increase there. Based on the bids that I've gotten already, I just went right in the middle, like a pretty average, and I brought that down almost $100,000. Well, actually over $320,000. And I have the proposals to back those numbers up. And I will be a little bit flexible there because I can understand the board not wanting to marry a number so low, given that, all the uncertainty. But it certainly doesn't need to be $425,000. And then FICA's obviously staying the same, arbitrage rebate. There's certain things on here that I just can't touch. This dissemination agent, I assume that comes from you guys.
It does, and your new management companies will either line item it out as we have, or they will bake it into their cost.
Right, so they have baked it into the cost that I already have proposed, and so we would save those $2,000. Engineering, this is gonna be a hot topic, right? $70,000 is where we're currently at. We've spent $31,442. The current budget calls for a $5,000 increase. I'm not an engineer. Lucas is an engineer. I'm not an engineer. I don't know what all goes into that. What I do know is that I feel like between legal and engineering, there's a lot of hours that we put into that. And maybe this is just me being naive. I don't know if it's all like super necessary. So all that to say, I'm not even cutting it. I just don't think that we need to increase it. So I capped it at 70. And legal, which given the conversation, well, given what Mike Eckert just told us about how we can expect this to cost us a lot, I don't know how that would work, but we have an adopted budget for FY 2025 of 60,000, and the new proposed is 75,000. So that's already a 15%, a $15,000 increase. My budget says 60, and we have to stay within that budget, whatever that means. If that means that we're cutting back on all the, minuscule requests that are going to legal, then that's what it's going to be. But I think that we need to cap that. We can't just increase it every year, I think. Management service, 73,486, is what was adopted for FY 2025. Currently, the budget says 75,672. My line item on the budget says 77,000, which is $1,400 more than what's actually currently proposed. However, we would be saving on the dissemination agent $2,000, and we'd also be saving in a couple other ones that I'll bring up here. So it actually ends up being less expensive. But property appraiser can't do anything about that. Recording secretary, that's you guys too, right? Okay, so the new management company has already, the 2 bids that I got have that encompassed in their professional services. Special assessment, we can't do anything. Trustee fees, is that you? Where does that go? Okay. Okay. I didn't touch that, so, because I wasn't sure. Postal and freight. We have $1,000 budgeted. According up until now, we've spent $149. So do we need $1,000 budgeted? No, probably not. We've only spent $149. We have 3 months left. Maybe we'll spend a little more, but I just cut it in half, $500, because again, current spending trends just don't support it. The meeting room stayed the same. That's not going down. Insurance, I can't touch. Legal ads. We have a $1,200 budget. We've spent $225 so far, and the new budget calls for another $1,200. I don't think we're spending it. I cut it in half also, $600, and that still gives us a really good buffer.
If I could, just to interrupt on that, the legal advertising, when you do your mailed assessment notice of an increase, you also have to do a large legal ad, so that you'll have that cost anytime that you do an increase for, this year that we're currently in, which we're budgeting for. But if you're going to budget for the potential for an increase next year, you just got to factor that in, and that can be several hundred to $1,500 to $2,000 sometimes, depending on what ad is required. So just I wanted y'all to know that.
Yeah, and that's why it's helpful when we're doing these budget processes to have actuals from previous years, not just current and projected, because they're not going to show backloaded expenses like that kind of thing.
Right. And then the last item is district filing and board of supervisors, which I didn't touch. So all that to say, the cuts that I made, while they may seem drastic, do cut the budget by $500,000, and there's no increase.
All right. I will say that I don't disagree with any one item that you mentioned. I'll also say that, and I'm hopeful that we could, that sounds for the most part plausible. I in my part, what I said earlier, I mentioned that depending on what we heard from vendors, we could be clawing several of things back considerably, as you mentioned as well. So I still think, we can, were there any items that Brittany brought up that any of the rest of us have a lot of heartburn over?
I think, she brought some good points, and she's got quotes, but I think until we get the actual quotes and understand an apples to apples comparison, I'm a little hesitant to remove so much from the field services or, the management companies' expenditures. Other than that, I think most of the things that she said I agree with. The security monitoring service, that was, $100,000. So yeah, I think it's pretty solid. I just a little concerned of removing that much amount from our budget.
And that's fair. And I did say, that's fair. And so I'm willing to, I'm more than open to like discussing it and possibly, you know, meeting somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, our O and M last year was it 3 or 3.5%? We had, you know, something similar happened last year where we, you know, proposed a worst case number and were able to claw it back. Since we're not finalizing the budget tonight, I mean, my hesitation is, given the transition we're about to go through, I don't feel it would be responsible to claw anything back from both engineering and legal services, as Mike has suggested, because David has, you know, been here you know, a number of years. He's going to act as the bridge to the new field services, the new management, covering all the different issues, everything that's mentioned in the RFP that needs to be managed by the new company. And we haven't even gotten to discussing that yet. So notionally, that sounds good. And we've been told from Infomark that they can make those adjustments. And you know, again, it's our budget, and it's up to us to add, remove. We can do whatever line items we want. It's completely within our control. I mean, let's see. There's one other thought that I'm trying to remember right now. Yeah, I guess the bigger conversation point is with the reserve contribution. We, you know, made the decision several years ago that we were going to build some kind of maintenance facility, and we've already we started down that path and have spent money in the process of making that happen. I would not want to walk away from that completely until we had a bid in hand from a new field services provider that was comfortable with the exact state of our facilities that we have now, the storage consisting of 2 shipping containers, the Ashley Park concession area, and that being their only staging and storage area that they have to work with.
Well, the 2 bids I got came on site, walked through with me. And so just speaking on those 2 companies, they're okay with that.
Okay. Again, we don't finalize anything until the August 7th meeting. So as far as points of discussion, are there any other thoughts from the rest of the board on things we can or can't reduce?
I do have a question about the Ashley Park pool. I don't think the residents there like having our office there and the people coming and going, which may or may not be something we take into consideration. But I also wanted to know are we within code having that there? I'd hate to have that come back and bite us someday.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. I know we have the ball rolling on that, but when the golf building was sold, it was bought by the county's mosquito control. And I truly believe that we should contact them and see if we can't purchase a small piece of the back of their property to put and we could even just get another trailer there for it. It's a very big spot. They probably don't need it all, and since we're government and their government, they might work something out, even if they would lease a corner of that property for us.
Okay.
The other thing, and actually I have to give credit to Teresa Kramer, because she's the one that mentioned that to me, to look into it. And, but I haven't been quite sure how to go about it. And then also, if we could get it from the right angle, we might possibly able to get a road through there and open the storage lot back up.
Okay.
I'm not promising. I don't know if the lay of the land is quite right, and I don't know if they would let us.
Should we stay tuned for supervisor requests, or should I speak on that now? It's not the topic at hand of the budget.
Sorry, I go out of order.
No, it was your speaking. I mean, it's all relevant to this and the storage area we couldn't have, but yes, definitely. So any other thoughts on potential adjustments to make to the budget? Again, nothing being finalized tonight, pending receipt and adoption of proposals, whether from the companies you've already dealt with, or if we, through the RFP process, find possibly an even better.
Can I ask council a question?
That's why he's here. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Mike.
Hello.
If we were to obtain a third or even a fourth proposal, can we possibly just vote on those? If we're just talking management service, because I know it becomes a whole nother thing with the amount for field services, but say next meeting we had 4 proposals, could the board just go over them and pick and vote here? Or do we have to go through the RFP process even for the management company? I mean, even for the management portion?
So the management that is pure management, which is, people not turning wrenches, grinding sidewalks, things like that. So your district management and your amenity management and your field management services, those are considered contractual services under Florida law, and there is no specific process you have to go through. So the
Okay,
answer to your question is yes, you can obtain many proposals informally, present them to the board, and the board could select one of those companies.
great. So then how does that change? Does that change any of our legal fees, being that we don't have to go through the RFP process? Could that maybe be a more fiscally conservative option for us?
Certainly you can. The RFP is already prepared at the request of the board, and it's in your agenda package. So it's really the legal fees you would save would be us reaching out to the people that we know that provide these services in your area, having conversations with them, which would probably happen informally anyway. So I'm not sure you're going to save very much by doing it, but I'm happy to do it whichever way the board wants.
Okay, and then just to be clear, for the field services side, being that that contract level is so high, over $300,000, do we have to go through the RFP process for that one then?
You do, and you have to have scoring criteria, and then you will rank the proposals. And so there's a couple different ways to go about this. You can lump everything in together, and then so you're getting your field services provided by your management company, and then just have the management companies go through a formal RFP with protest periods and with rankings. Or you can do the informal with the management and then go through a formal process for the field services, but you may not end up with the same company.
Interesting, okay. And can you just clarify what what is that number?
It's 195,000 for maintenance services in Florida. And unfortunately, the statute doesn't allow you to adjust that for inflation, and it's been that way for some time.
Okay, well, thank you. That does
Yep.
clear things up.
Okay. And could you give us some more information on as far as meeting those requirements and the timeline that is now been established by Infomart giving their notice? Are we going to need to potentially schedule another meeting to review and score and make a selection on the field services and possibly also with the management? Can you give us a little what your thoughts are on what that timeline needs to look like?
Yeah, and let me just first say that Infomark has the legal right to terminate the contract without cause with 60 days notice, which they've provided. However, that is an extremely compressed time to accomplish that transition. And for example, we need to have a discussion with Infomark on who's preparing the assessment roll and
We're gonna
certifying it
prepare it.
to the county. I couldn't hear that.
We're going to prepare it, Mike, because that timeline, it's the 23rd to the 25th. So the finance team is already aware that they'll still prepare the role.
Okay, that's helpful. So the number of days that have to be advertised for field services is 7 days. So you have to allow 7 days from the time you advertise it to the time that you have a bid deadline. However, I will tell you, for a community your size, you don't want something that's been prepared after 7 days notice. You want to have something that allows at least, I would say, 21 days for people to come out and look at it and then formulate their proposals and their staffing plan. So that was what I would recommend when you're doing that. In terms of the district management, that kind of thing, they're pretty used to that. I think you could send them the informal RFP, which has the scope of services in it, if you decided to do that informally and say, hey, I need proposals in 14 days on this. Now, will you get a better proposal if you waited 21? Most likely you will. But you could do it in as few as 14. I wouldn't do 7, even though you're allowed to do that. I just don't think that's going to give people enough time. You also have the July 4th holiday. And although, you know, some of us view that as one day off, sometimes people will take, you know, a week off. So that's going to factor into our schedule as well.
Okay. So do we have any other thoughts on the budget discussion before I move on?
Can I just say one more thing?
Yeah.
Sorry. Just for frame of reference for people, the field services has the equivalent of 5 full-time workers. So if you divide that in, if that helps you divide it into the number that's budgeted.
Okay.
That might,
Okay.
right,
So
yeah. And then of course, all the social security taxes and everything on top of that. But because I think that increased number, we were thinking of getting another employee, maybe not full-time, but I don't think we'd actually come to a complete decision on that yet, but sweet. Right, and having someone after 4 o'clock. So,
Okay.
yeah, close down the pools at night, and I think we should lock the bathroom doors over at the lake because of the vandalism. So, but anyway, that's all.
Okay. Nope. That was, all right.
Chairman, if you don't mind, I
Yes.
just want to ensure for the record that the board is making no adjustments to the budget as it was proposed tonight. This was just discussion and any adjustments will be made in the next meeting, correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
We all, I mean,
Gonna vote again for this budget?
well,
No, you can still make adjustments in your next meeting. No.
well, I'm not prepared to without having, you know, more information on what the management.
There's no reason for you all to vote on this budget that's been presented. This was just for discussion purposes. That's why you have a public hearing. That's where you'll make your final decision.
If Brittany gave you her numbers, would you be able to plug them in as another budget and then we can compare the two? And then it would also give us these numbers with her proposal?
Yeah, we can absolutely do that. If they're the same numbers that were posted on Facebook, then I already have them.
Oh, all right. Okay, yeah, that would be, would you like that, Brittany? I mean, that would work, because then when we have the meeting, we.
How sweet.
Are you being mean to me?
No.
Oh,
Okay.
so I think we should do it next month. I agree
Right,
with
yeah.
you, and we'll.
All right. All right. All sounds very good. All right. So the next item is consideration of a resolution 2025-10, amending the date and time for the public hearing, which will be August 7th for adopting the final budget. Is there anything we need to discuss with that? I mean, it's kind of a.
Well, I need a copy of her budget. I'm not on the Facebook page, so.
Okay.
She said she's
yeah.
gonna send it to me.
Okay, perfect. Do we have any, I mean, I'll move to accept or adopt resolution 25-10, setting the date and time for the budget hearing, August 7th. This location, 6 p.m.
Sorry, just to be clear, when is that county deadline that it has to be met by? That county deadline?
For the budget, it's gonna be August 30th. Or no, I'm sorry, the 25th for your county.
Right. So that would not be enough time for, we'd have to pull the August meeting forward to try doing that. It was originally was going to be at the July meeting. The deadline was missed. We're pushing it back to that Tuesday. Informally, the board was contacted and we should have a quorum that we're able to have our July meeting on August 7th to then finalize the budget. Is there any other discussion that we need to? The July meeting is, right, the July meeting, air quotes, will take place on August 7th, and that will be the public hearing for the adoption of the fiscal year 26 budget.
You're going to need to meet between now and then to deal with the proposals and the management stuff. So we're going to have a special meeting built in there, just so the board is aware. I don't know how you do it. You don't want to pick your management company on August 7th.
And I would agree with that. And Yeah, we've been discussing that. The July meeting was where the budget was going to be formally adopted. There are
Sure.
requirements for how much time passes between the proposal of the budget and the final adoption of the budget. And that filing was supposed to have happened the day after our last meeting, and it wasn't. So we've now had to reschedule that July meeting for August 7th now to satisfy the requirements for how much time passes between the proposal and adoption of the formal final budget. So, okay, so in regards to this resolution, the requirement is just that we have the publicly announced hearing for the budget. I've already moved to accept or adopt this resolution.
I'll second.
Okay, Lucas seconded. Any other discussion on the date of the final budget adoption? Okay,
Any other discussion on the date to approve?
the August 7th. Right. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. I think this would be a good time to discuss when we can have that intermediate meeting to go over the results of our RFP. I know we'll be discussing that RFP in the district council portion of the meeting. That's okay. We're only hearing what's in the microphone, so we're having a couple dates around. One suggestion was July 29th, which would have been the original proposed meeting date. That is, a little more than 4 weeks. Oh, is that exactly 4 weeks from tonight? Oh, sorry. July 24th. So that would be 4 weeks from tonight. Are we, I mean, that makes sense to me. I mean, what does?
I think my schedule's good for that.
Okay, I say it makes sense to me. I was personally planning to be out of town that week, but is that something that if I were attending remotely or Infomark were running the meeting, as long as we had 3 in person here, we'd still be able to establish a quorum?
That's correct.
Okay, well, then that would be 3 weeks. Okay, so yeah, I would still be here and be available.
I'm on vacation that week.
Okay.
Infomark won't be able to attend on the 17th either.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is the 24th. I mean, I'd be remote, and I think we've got things set up now. And as long as I get access to the building here, we can have stuff. Wrong with who?
Did anybody do the 31st?
Oh, 31st. No, I apologize, everybody. I got my dates mixed up. I will be here the 24th. It's the 31st that I would not have been able to make. 24th is good for everybody?
24.
Okay, so do we need to have like a formal resolution or just a motion and a vote?
This just for the management company or both?
Yes, this is I don't know if we classify it as an emergency meeting, just a special session, thank you, to discuss and make a selection of a management and field service replacement. So moved?
So moved.
Seconded. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so that is July 24th will be the date for our special session to select new management and field services.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, you're going to have to continue this meeting or set another special meeting earlier than that to deal with the field services component, because you're going to have to approve evaluation criteria and scoring criteria for that.
And that's not something you can do tonight?
No, we don't. We didn't have direction from the board which way you wanted to go on that particular issue. So we'll need to continue this meeting in progress for, probably till next week, where you all can approve the criteria for that. But again, we don't know which way you were going in terms of, are you going to get a district manager on board first and then go through the field management? How are you going to handle that? So.
Okay, well, so there's the scoring requirements that would have to be established and agreed upon at a continuation of this meeting. So we would, adjourn it or suspend it and then meet, I guess, after a week, after we've had our RFP discussion, to then set what the scoring criteria is for our, what we say is our, how we're going to grade the different field service proposals to make an impartial decision.
Okay.
Okay, so we can get to that when we're actually discussing the RFP and anything else in the district council portion of the meeting. The next item on the agenda was a discussion of a hurricane letter. Can I get some clarification from Infomark on the hurricane letter that is on the agenda? You know, sorry, yes. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Nick with United
can-
Land
can we-
Services.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Nick with United Land Services. Do I give my contractor report?
Well, we can do that. The agenda item, the way it was ordered, was a discussion of a hurricane letter. If you can speak to that first, and then while you're here, we can go into your report. Sure.
That's just us being proactive. It's hurricane season. We send this out to all of our customers in the event that a storm comes, that we make sure that the proper assets are in the area. And this is such a high risk location due to the trees. We just want to get ahead of the curve and just, put that out there. That's for you guys to discuss and fill out how you will. I just wanted to put that there so it was available to you guys as a tool. Use it or not.
Okay.
I know last year we didn't have that much, even though we had Hurricane Milton. The damage was cleaned up pretty quickly. So I just wanted to have the same letter that was sent last year available to you guys. So in the event a storm comes, we're already have a plan of action.
Okay. That sounds good. While you're up here, do you want to go ahead and go through your landscaping report?
Absolutely. So no proposals. Oh, there's been a couple. Right. So I only propose like problems that I see. So I want to be proactive. I fully expect you guys to deny some, but it's documented. So you can use it for budgeting purposes. You can get a general idea of, the scope of some of the stuff because our plants and trees, they're aging as well. So for the mowing, the St. Augustine, we're mowing it at 4.5 inches. The Bahia, like within the lakes, is at 3.5. We do expect it to go to around 4 inches, but not until July. We're still a bit dry. The pruning, all of the shrubs were done, of the exception of the viburnum on 5 Oaks that is scheduled for next Monday, maybe spill into Tuesday. That's quite a bit. All of the palm trees in the pool at the entrance and what is on 5 Oaks, they are all completed. The wall on North Lake was cut to where is the CDD lines. We did our first application, like bush hogging. We will do a revisit on Monday, possibly into Tuesday, kind of clean it up a little bit and put it at 4.5 inches like the rest of the turf in the surrounding area. The tree removal on Sundrop, the hazardous trees, they have been removed. The tree at Ashley Pool has been replaced. However, I think due to drought, it has failed. We will warranty it and cover it at no cost. I do plan on doing that in July because irrigation is just a supplement to rainfall. So with the help of rain, we'll go ahead and put a new one in, and then we'll bring that to your guys' attention once it's done. There is a few areas that are typically wet. It is dried up enough. I've instructed my teams on Tuesday to hurry up and go mow those before the rain does come. There's not that many, so we already tackled the one. The biggest one I would say is on Dark Sky in that field. It goes down to the homes. We were able to mow it today. We will do a finish cut on it on Monday. And that's all I actually have this time. No proposal.
Please keep up the great work.
I have, what about the homeowner that had the pool? I looked at that and it was,
Pool.
Remember the pool and the.
Yeah, the backside of Dark Sky along Butterfly where there was the vendor damage to some of the.
We've put that off for so long.
3169, Dark Sky.
So the seed took, and we have a job being done at the lakes where we're regrading where they had the concrete washout.
Right.
And I had a couple of pieces of sod, and I'll just put where the burlap was exposed with a little bit of soil. But I just inspected it 2 days ago, and it's extremely thick. We put a thick application. I did that for the safety of my staff so they can mow on that slope. But as far as I'm concerned, my professional opinion, that's a dead issue.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Awesome. So now just so we're clear, Infomark, right? We can now release that residence deposit. Okay,
The lot in the field where we did the slope.
the seed took.
Yep.
That's what we're saying. Yes.
Our landscaper is happy with the condition of the property and the whatever.
Safely be mowed now. That was my concern. We
Okay.
caught it in time before the rain. Next time we'll just be clear with
Thank you, Nick.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Sure, the resident will appreciate that.
Yes, we had another resident concern, one of the ponds in the lakes around sagebrush. I know you'd mentioned the batwing mower and being able to get down lower. What's the schedule for?
So the schedule is for the second week of July to do the batwing, but the problem is the water's still low. So it doesn't gradually slope into the water. There's actual shelf. And I fell in it when I did it. I can't have my guys do it.
Right.
So we'll get as close as we possibly can. I've instructed the production manager, maybe some string trimmers to get closer. But we actually tried and we came across 2 rattlesnakes. So my guys were a little scared. So we're gonna wait until the batwing comes in. So, but yes, that's on the schedule for July. But like I said, I'm thinking the second week of July before the batwing, and it'll come out here. It'll be out here for a week, and we will hit every lake, the ones behind the schools. And then I'll try to have that on schedule for once a month until November, and then probably by every other month in the off season. And we should like keep it. But again, we do not do anything that's in the water because
Right.
of the aquatics
Yes.
and everything else.
Okay.
Nick,
Excellent.
one more thing, something that's been discussed and brought up by residents a lot. Can you talk to us, well, maybe not right now, but maybe propose to us what it would look like to add the verges back to the landscapers rather than the homeowners? It just, with the whole leaves situation, with the whole, it looking ugly because it's not uniform. If we could just get the cost of what that would cost to give back to landscape and take from the residents, that would probably be good.
So what I would need is, because I've never mowed them. When I arrived on site, I never touched them. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's Caprior, 5 Oaks, and Schoolhouse Road, correct?
From what I understand, yes.
Yes.
What I can do is we could amend it to the current contract. And I can give you guys a number. I can get with my management team and see what we can do for you guys, and I can present it for the next meeting.
That'd be great.
Being that it's amended, once it's approved, we can actually start it.
Wonderful.
So
Yeah,
that
we
would
could
be,
I don't know if this helps, but I seem to recall that when we passed to change it, we saved $60,000 a year. So.
I do want to, I'm sorry. I do want to bring up one other point. When we started here, that last community at the end was not completed at all.
Right.
And it has been brought to my attention that that particular lake in the middle of it belongs to CDD. That was not part of our scope. Should I include that as well because that lake is not being maintained?
You're talking about North Lake, so the far end of 5 Oaks.
Yeah, if you know where the last cul-de-sac is?
Yeah,
that-
the roundabout that you just
if you drive straight through there, you'll almost run into a lake.
Yeah.
From what I'm to understand, that is the CDD lake.
North Lakes of Harmony Community Association.
Yeah, so there's some history there. I think on that one, we'll have to take a look at that and we can
Hold
get
on,
back to the
hold on.
board on it because there was a distinction between owning the lake and actually doing the routine maintenance of the lake.
Okay. Could you say that again, Mike? It was a little soft.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's some history on that issue that we looked at probably a year or two ago. And there was a distinction on the plat in terms of the responsibilities for who was going to own lakes up there and then who was going to maintain them routinely. So the district was not doing routine maintenance on some of the lakes over there, even though the district owned them because the district was just doing the maintenance required by the permits. So I'd have to see the lake in question and go back and look at what we did there and make sure that that's consistent for you all to be taking over the routine maintenance of it.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, this is neighborhood, North Lake, what's that? Right, they're the last two that were done. So they're the Enclave and North Lake. Going by the property owner, property appraiser's websites, they're showing that both of those, as far as ownership of property, is to the respective HOAs for those neighborhoods. But of course, we would still have a maintenance easement to be able to maintain whatever drainage structures and and make sure. So I guess, Mike, are you suggesting that like the mowing around those ponds, that's considered part of the stormwater management maintenance, that we would have an easement to get on those properties and a responsibility to carry out that maintenance?
I have to look at the particular lakes that you're talking about, but I know that there was a substantial disagreement with that developer because that developer put some responsibilities on the CDD that the CDD never accepted. And there were affidavits that were filed correcting scrivener's errors on the plats and things like that. So I need to look at the particular ponds and then I can tell you what your responsibility is. But my understanding or my recollection is we walked away from that, at least on many of the ponds. Our responsibility was whatever we had to do under the permit, and the HOA was responsible for everything else.
And that's what would have been in the contract as it stands today.
I just wanted to verify because it's come up several times. In fact, I can't go down there without someone stopping me. So
Right.
I just wanted to put it in the minutes.
Well, yeah, yes. And I mean, it's been brought to our attention. So are we comfortable with Mike getting clarification on it?
Right, I just don't go in the gate whatsoever. And what's in question is that lake just as soon as you get in.
Yeah, I think we need to get clarification on exactly who's responsible for those ponds.
That is CDD.
Isn't that a trail?
Yes, that is owned by the CDD, the proper, at least behind the enclave you're talking about, right? Yeah, yes, I mean, that connects up to Billy's Trail. You're saying, Joe, and microphone?
I'm sorry. I'm not used to being a celebrity. Yeah, because I was on the appraiser's website and it's just actually, it's kind of fun to look at that. If any of you like to go into things like that, I'm a little bit of a nerd that way, but there's all these little speckles and some of it's CDD and some's HOA, because the HOA in those two communities was very adamant that they wanted control over all of those things. So, but the space behind the homes on the enclave was still CDD.
Okay, so I don't think we need a motion on that, but we're just giving direction to district council to indeed get that clarification, please, so we can then direct landscaping if that is something that we have a responsibility for maintaining, or if that needs to be pushed back to the respective HOAs. Sound good, Mike?
Yep, I've got it.
Okay. All right. And that was, do we have any other comments for Nick?
I do have one more. Last month I don't say I complained, but I had mentioned that the 5 oak trees at the condos, that they needed to be trimmed. I knew I was going to reach out to the attorney, but the contractor, he must have heard and had them all trimmed.
It was within 2 or 3 days. Yeah.
It was immediate. And then I followed up and they removed it off the turf right away with no damage. So there is nothing further to report. They're trimmed and it's within the specs. So I didn't see any damage done to
Is
the
this
trees.
the houses on the by the west entrance side?
Yeah, the new condos as they're
Yeah, well, they
building,
were
he
like-
went and trimmed them all.
Okay.
And they didn't do a bad job. Like it wasn't risking our tree. They're not top heavy or anything like that. It was done right.
Good.
So that issue resolved itself.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Nick.
Bye, guys.
Okay.
Sit back there and wait for-
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're definitely getting more of these. These seem to be pretty good picking up their voices. You guys can hear me all right. We'll get some more of these for next time. They're not expensive. Next item is the discussion of the agreement for environmental maintenance services for Harmony West. Is this for the Buck Lake Committee? Okay. So, and this is a meeting that took place back in March. It was missed at the March meeting. The April meeting didn't happen. The May meeting was 5 hours long. This is just adopting. There's a small increase in the maintenance of Buck Lake. We have a interlocal agreement with Harmony West. They technically own Buck Lake, and we share maintenance costs for, again, invasive weed management. It's a fairly benign, small expense, but it did go up a little bit this year. I don't have the page up in front of me. It just turned off. Love this thing. It's okay. We got a copy over here. If you bear with me. Where do we go? I'm sorry. The agreement with Harmony West for the Buck Lake maintenance. I believe page 130.
You're looking for the cost?
Well, yes.
Okay. So that's on page 130. So there's two areas. The maintenance monthly at Lake Shores is $16,800.
Okay.
And then general project coordination is with a not to exceed of 1,750.
Okay, so I apologize. Okay, thank you, because the emailed version and the website version again had some discrepancies in page count. So I will move to adopt the sorry, let me make sure I'm phrasing this right.
So you want to make a motion to adopt the amendment as presented?
Yes, in the amount of 16,800, sorry. In the amount, sorry, I apologize. Can you read the full text for the motion, please?
So you'd like to make a motion to approve the amendment as presented for the monthly maintenance for 16,800 and a not to exceed for general project coordination for 1,750.
Yes.
That's a motion by Dan.
I'm sorry, I just need a little bit of clarification.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a motion on the floor. If we need, I mean, this is a interlocal agreement that we have standing with Harmony West, and we already have it in our budget for sharing this cost of the Buck Lake maintenance. They've actually been holding the bag since March for us approving the amount. I met with them. Buck Lake Committee is what it's called. It's just myself and one representative from Harmony West discussed and approved this small increase. This is just to ratify and make sure we are agreeing to it formally on our end and continuing with the interlocal agreement sharing the cost of maintenance with Buck Lake.
What is the increase? I'm not seeing.
Yeah,
it.
what was the old,
Doesn't say
what-
then how much is the increase?
I apologize. I don't have it in front of me right now. This is back in March. Let me.
what line item does this fall under? Ponds?
The ponds and Buck Lake, that it was like one of the first R&M. It was one that we're cutting back on, but we still more than have enough for covering this cost.
See, how much of an increase are we?
Yes, and I apologize. I'm trying to pull up my
Looking for it too.
right. Well, again, this Buck Lake committee meeting took place back in March. Here we go. Okay, it was a $100 per month increase. So the the cost was $1,200 per event for 12 months. Became $1,300 per event for 12 months. So that became the $15,600. It had been so it was a $2,400 increase across the entire year. Do we have a second on the motion?
Yeah.
I'll second.
Okay. Do we have any other discussion? I mean, anything we discuss, if we have a problem with this, it would be something that we bring up with Harmony West at the next annual meeting of the Buck Lake Committee. It's not trying to minimize the cost, but it is fairly small. Things are usually pretty amiable with, there haven't been much issues in executing this agreement and sharing use of the lake. It's something that really, if we have issue with that cost, we'd want to discuss it in spring going into the next meeting. If we were going to try and draw a line in the sand that we
Do
don't
you know
want
how
to.
much, what are we splitting it? Is it 50-50,
Yes.
70-30? It's 50-50,
50-50, yep.
but they own the lake.
Yeah, yes, that was, I could talk your ear off on how that all went down with the county, but as soon as you get past Dark Sky, that is Harmony West CDD boundary. So all of
Right.
that conservation area, all the wetlands, and Buck Lake itself is within the boundaries of Harmony West CDD, and they technically own the property. We have this interlocal agreement to share the maintenance costs 50-50.
This doesn't have a CDD though.
Yes, they do. I've been to their meetings more than once. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they do.
And, well, what would happen? And I'm not saying that I'm going to vote against it, but I'm just wondering because I've never. What would happen if we didn't want to accept the increase?
We have the issue is we had the committee meeting back in March, and myself representing the Harmony CD agreed to and signed off on the approval. So that direct your anger at me for approving that $100 a month increase. This is ratifying it, and if we want to draw a line in the sand on not increasing that next year. Again, the meeting happens every March, so we would want to discuss that at the January or February meeting. Jennifer.
Is it my understanding too that if you aren't not in this agreement, then they can cut off your services to the lake, right? Your access to
They
the
own
lake.
it.
And then you're also at the mercy of however they decide to manage the lake. It could, if it turns green and they want to leave it that way, it could end up staying that way.
But then what happens if, because it's theirs, they control it. If next year they decide, well, you know what? We're going to split
Okay,
it
well-
75-25 and you're taking the 75.
Well, we have we have this structure of this interlocal agreement to, prevent something like that from unilaterally happening. And there would be, as I understand, recourse with the county because it all falls within the Harmony PD. And, there are, then it would escalate to the county if they, were to do something like that. But things have been.
So it's agreed with the county that we're splitting this 50-50? That's
Yeah.
like the county's involved in that decision.
This was a number of years ago that this was all set up. But
They're aware of.
yeah, the county had to be involved in some degree. They were definitely involved in setting the boundaries of what became Harmony West CDD's border of control and influence and maintenance responsibility versus ours. A number of us residents tried to argue with the county that our CD should extend at least a little bit into those conservation areas. So there's a buffer and would have given us control over the trails that they ripped out a year ago. But that's the county, again, made that decision and didn't listen to us as residents. So Harmony West CDD owns Buck Lake. We have a interlocal agreement with them to share the maintenance costs and guarantee that we have continued free, unfettered access to the lake.
Not free.
Sorry.
Well, yeah, but they own it. Yeah.
Okay. So
right,
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
No.
Can we take a resident question?
No, because then we're gonna open up
yeah,
a can of worms.
we're already past 8 p.m. Let's all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Reluctantly, I'm gonna vote no.
Okay. Supervisor Cornell was in opposition, but the motion carries. Hey, get back. Sorry, if I bear with me for a moment. It is helpful. Thanks. Turns off.
And only because I feel like there's a lot of unknowns.
Oh, sure. That's the whole reason we're any of us have concerns with anything that we're
Well, yeah.
deciding as a
maybe-
board, this is
Right.
when that we talk about it. Don't ever hesitate to ask questions. Sorry, only because there have been some discrepancies with the additions of the agenda that went out. Yep.
No, no, right?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. I got it. All right. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with us.
Mhm.
Okay. The next item was the review of the geotechnical report. And so, David, this can play into your staff report.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry about the voice coming and going here. So a few things to discuss this evening. The first one, I agree with Michael. The Lakes is a HOA maintained pond. We have an easement on top of it, and the unlikely that we need to get in there and do something for flood protection.
Yeah. It's directional, so like point right into it and they'll be able to hear you a lot better. Thank you. Yep.
So yes, Michael is correct. Regarding the 2025 annual monitoring report that Catherine Bowman is doing, she is trying to get the second half of 2024 and the first half of 2025's maintenance records that goes towards her write-up. And then she'll be able to tell me once that's compiled, where we stand with the old world climbing fern eradication. I'm not sure whether or not I should ask her to look at the area that's been impacted or wait till we catch the vandals in case it continues to grow. But sooner or later, I need to get an estimate from her on what it'll take to bring it back into compliance. Next thing is we had Atlantic Pipe Services come out and fix the pool deck drainage finally. I think Raul observed the cleaning. We had 4-inch diameter pipes that were all clogged. All 4 of them got opened up. They then put a garden hose on each drain and they drained properly. So that pool deck should be working as we head into the summertime. Next thing is I'd like to get clarified tonight once and for all this maintenance facility, simply because we have an engineer proceeding with services and I keep getting mixed signals what we're doing. And this was not an Infomark decision. This was a decision by prior boards to have a facility that provided indoor storage, outdoor storage, and an office. And we went back and forth in the community center, park, to obviously the golf course, maintenance facility, to our own building. At the end of it, it was all voted upon to proceed forward with a 5 Points maintenance facility. The geotechnical report was submitted via an email by me. The survey's been completed. We have the engineer moving forward with a county pre-application meeting. But if we need to stop the bleeding on the costs, I need to find out tonight, are we going to kill this thing or not officially? We've always had a majority vote to move forward. So I got to ask, what is the board's direction on this maintenance facility once and for all?
Simple question. How much in engineering costs alone have we spent on this so
Me-
far
Me or the new engineer?
combined? Yeah,
Yes.
a lot.
Yeah.
So now it's gonna come to the point where we've already spent all this money. I mean, ballpark.
It was a $60,000 contract for the outside
Right,
engineer to
right.
being in theirs. And then there's been many hours.
50, 75 over the 4-year period, 3-year period.
So probably like over 100K.
You said 50 to 70 over a 4-year period.
Spent 60. So
We haven't spent the 60 yet. We're getting into it.
all that to say, yeah, we're close to 100K in already, and we could,
Not, no,
we could say, yeah, we're already 100K in, let's keep
let
doing
me
this.
finish, please.
Oh, I thought you were asking.
No, 60,000 was approved. The engineer submitted a $9,000 invoice to Infomark. So he's going to start ramping up his remaining task fairly soon, the remaining $50,000. My 50,000, if I'm guessing, has been spread over 3 years. Again, this was not an Infomark. This was a Board of Supervisors decision for indoor storage, outdoor storage, and an office. So
I voted in favor at the time. I continue to think that is in the long-term interest of our community, having a place that vehicles, tools, things can be stored that aren't, if you want to go back and look at they're outside the RV storage area. They're just rusty old shipping containers. That's where things are being kept right now. We made the decision. I understand you don't, just because we've spent money doesn't mean we have to continue spending money, but the decision at the time, and I'm still of the opinion that it is in the long-term interest of our community for whoever is providing field services, that they have a place that they have indoor storage, outdoor secure storage, and a place that they can, as staff, have a place to be inside, you get a drink of water, sign in and out, and not be coming in and out of the pool area. That's my thought. I'm one vote on the board, so let's hear it from everyone else.
No, I agree. This project was stemmed from county regulations where we had storage back in the garden area, and they came in there and they said we were, not with guidelines. And so we had to move all that stuff out, and then we kind of just put stuff everywhere. And then now, field services is setting up shop over at Ashley Park. I do agree this is going to be a nice key location and maintenance facility for whoever comes in here and supports this community. And yes, I think we are invested in it, and I think we should finish out the project.
Okay. Okay.
I
Oh, good
think
point, Alexa.
that we asked Infomark very clearly last month. Can you justify this? Why do you need this? What are your exact question was, what are the repercussions if we don't make this investment? And there was no sustainable answer. I'm so confused as to how we're sitting here having this conversation again, because I thought it was made pretty clear last month that Infomark themselves said, yeah, no, it would be a nice add-on, but we don't need it.
Okay.
So I just don't understand how, because this would be nice for the next folks to come in, we should make this investment and continue to make this investment. I think
No.
let's stop the bleeding.
It's in complete
Let's-
contradiction that I've reported to you guys what was moving forward. So how you came up with the idea that was dead is beyond me, because I've reported to you the geotech was underway, the survey was underway.
Which I wasn't in agreement with any of that, just for the record. But last month, like I said, we could not have one solid justifiable reason of why it was needed.
And this was a Board of Supervisors joint decision to provide all those elements.
But because we've
Okay.
made that mistake and made that decision, doesn't mean we have to continue to make it and continue to invest money in it.
Hold on a second. I asked Infomark that question. Infomark is not going to be providing field services as of 60 days from now.
Right.
So that would be an assumption that we are making that
It's
whoever.
not.
Oh, okay,
It's not an assumption
that's-
because we have other bids. And just like they didn't need it, the other management companies aren't going to need it. And I don't understand how the board could sit here and entertain hundreds of $1,000s for a building for maintenance when our residents don't even have, like, forget a clubhouse, like that's dreaming big, but any other like amenity in years, all we've done is like take things without really adding. And then we're going to add a multi-$100,000 building to just for management.
Okay. Joe, Julie, what are your thoughts on?
Well,
They
we need
can't
a
for now.
place to store our equipment. But I will say, I actually voted against the 5 Points location because I wanted a clubhouse with it. And that's why I wanted to buy the golf maintenance building and have a clubhouse, places for card teams, residents to have card games, the soccer coaches to plan their schedules, United Land Services, would give us a pretty steep discount on our contract. If they had a place to store their equipment on site, they have to bring it here every single time because there's no place for them to keep it. And we have equipment that needs to be taken care of. All the equipment that Field Services used is owned by Harmony. Infomark doesn't bring it in and use it. So it's our equipment that's being stored or left out in the rain to rust or however the case may be. However, Harmony is also a beautiful community, and I know I'm going to take heat for this, but I think, and even though I didn't want this particular one, I think we have an obligation to take our maintenance and field services seriously and have a proper facility for our equipment and our chemicals and our paint and all the things that they have to store. And it's not convenient going down the Garden Road. The garden people don't want them going back there. And they're going into those rusty old shipping containers. I just don't think that's a true reflection on us being a community of quality, I guess is the way I'm trying to look, to say it. And I hate paying more money, just like the rest of you. My electric bill went up, my water bill went up, my home insurance and everything else. And yes, my CDD fees go up and I don't like it, but at least I'm getting something for that money. I have swimming pools and I have this and I have that. And I swear we have done our best to keep the increases down as much as we've been able. Most of the money that's been spent has been necessary, and I stand by every vote I ever made. So people want me to resign. It's not going to happen. I'm still in office because I'm not a quitter. But at any rate, I think we need to go forward with this and finish it out. We started it and there we are. And then I think we need to start talking about having a little building, and we can do it at Buck Lake Park, and it could look like a little gingerbread house.
Julie. Yep. Oh, again, where the board is still discussing, please.
I agree. We do need something for them. It looks really bad back there. The storage or the shipping containers and that whole area looks so bad that we do need somewhere to store equipment. And like she said, paint and stuff like that, especially if we down the road plan to bring field services back in-house, our field service workers are going to need someplace to go. I mean, it just, and I even like the idea of Joe saying, reach out to the county, ask if we can get a portion of their building for storage. Personally, I hate to spend money on anything.
Guys, two things. Okay.
So-
Number one, like I said, last month when we asked Infomark, they said they couldn't give one reason why they absolutely needed it, right? So we're sitting here as a board coming up with reasons why to make this new building. It doesn't make any sense to me. They don't need it. It's a want. It's something nice to have. And if we were raking in the dough, yeah, let's get them a new building. Let's get everybody a new building. That's not the case right now. We have to be conservative here. And so if we only have certain monies to play with, then we kind of have to rank things on how important they are. And I'm not saying it's never going to happen, but what I'm saying is, what are we going to prioritize that and put a maintenance building at the top of the list? Like there's a whole bunch of stuff on the wants list, on the wish list. I'm just having trouble understanding why we're prioritizing this.
Okay, if I may, we had a not just a wish list, a detailed list of everything that the CDD owns and is responsible for maintaining, and that was the reserve study that Joe brought up, and we've mentioned in the past. This became a need when the trailer that had been used for field services, predating Infomark being involved in those field services, being kicked out of the location that they had been in the trailer back by the storage area. That was a issue with the county, and I have talked with the county in the last month following Joe's suggestion. I can get to that later on, but that became a high priority when we lost the facility that we had set up for the field services that was being done at the time, and then continued by Infomark doing that.
But according to three companies, they don't need it.
This was not,
Okay, David, yes, you want to
this
comment?
was not an Infomark request. This was a Board of Supervisor detailed
I understand
discussion.
that. I
Right.
understand that,
And we-
but
we-
it's going to
So
be
take
for.
it out of the picture.
No, I'm not, because field services is currently handled by Infomark. So the argument here is that regardless of if Infomark is here or not, we're gonna need it for field services. Yet again, I have 3 field services companies saying that they don't need it, and yet 4 board members are fighting to put it up.
We also have a requirement for field services to be a bid and have a scoring criteria and have an impartial decision made. I can, I
So
can,
wait.
no,
okay,
well, because David works for us. He's he's an employee of the CDD, and we gave him the direction after many iterations of where it might be, what it might be, how important it is. We made the decision to start working on this facility at the entrance to the golf maintenance building. We to answer the audience question, to delay it, that's an option, but that would make it even more expensive. We've seen because if you bid something now and you bid something 6 months from now in almost any kind of civil engineering space, David, please tell me if I'm wrong, it's going to cost more. We saw that with the paving project. We had it bid, and the bid was something like $400,000. And we thought, oh my, this is a lot. We can't spend this right now. And we put it off for a year, and it ended up costing $500,000. Waiting, waiting will not make this any cheaper. If this is something that we decide that we do want to do at some point, anytime in the future, then the least expensive way to do it is to continue down the path that we've already started. If it's something that you never, ever, ever want to do, and then say that, and yes, we stop spending money, but if it's something that we think we might eventually want to do, the least expensive overall way to do it is to continue down the path we've already started. David, do you think there's any money that can be saved by delaying the construction of the building?
I mean, construction costs go up every year annually, materials, labor. So if you want a table for a year or two, instead of the 500,000, it may be 750 in a couple of years from now.
Could be 8, could be $1 million. We're not doing it right now, then we don't need to worry about it right now.
Can I ask you, Brittany, on the bids that you got for field services, did you discuss with them the fact that their people have no place to sit or get indoors?
They saw the Ashley Park, Ashley Pool. They know where the.
And where are they, okay.
Okay, well,
Two different companies, by the way.
Mr. Chairman,
But are
just
we
from
gonna
a
able to
process,
keep Ashley Park?
Mike go ahead, Mike.
yeah, just from a process standpoint, this is a discussion item, but unless there's a motion and a second to abandon what's already been voted on by the board, then I
We can
think
move
that
on.
we probably can wrap up the discussion
Yes.
and move on. But I've not even heard a motion at this point.
There hasn't been. Is there a motion to abandon the maintenance facility construction project?
I will make a motion to abandon it.
Does anybody second? Okay, motion was not seconded. Do you have anything else in your report, David?
2 more things and I'm done. I'll do my annual stormwater inspection, hopefully the 4th of July weekend. So you'll see me out here going pond to pond. And then as far as the budget reduction, when you guys make your final vote, our 4-year average is $82,000. That's why I thought the 75,000 was fair heading into 2026. So not a vote, just a comment. So.
Okay. I'd seen you had sent the email out regarding the trail mowing. I guess no answer on that yet. And that was also Bowman. So she's also.
No, she responded.
Okay.
And the South Florida Water Management District will not allow any unpaved trails to traverse through wetland systems for the sake of a strong propensity to spread the nuisance vegetation by the way the spores are created and the foot traffic and things like that. Oh, here's the email, Dan, I got from Catherine.
Okay, and just to read that, I mean, and there's no provision for things being grandfathered in, that there are trails that have been running through the community and between the different neighborhoods and documented with the county as part of the plan for development of these trails being in place through the conservation areas.
The county's one thing, but South Florida War Manson District will not encourage or allow pedestrian traffic, even unpaved, through a wetland conservation area. But I'll let you read that. We can talk about it next meeting, so.
Okay. Do we have any other questions for David?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next under staff reports, we already heard from landscaping, so next will be the field inspection report. Come on up, Raul. Grab a mic.
Thank you very much. Good evening, for record, Raul from Harmony, from Informark, I'm sorry, CDD field manager. I just want to go over the field inspection that we had recently, the last field inspection that we had. Let me just pull it. Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay, perfect. I'm sorry. Let me just get it here real quick. Speaking rooms. So I'm looking here for the inspection. Most of the items of the inspection that we have, item 3, 10, 12, 16, and 17 are already complete. Pretty much we did everything that we had there on file in the inspection. I also want to go over the pressure washing, continuing down at 5 Oak. We already passed the second entrance from the lakes. So we continue progressing down that area, which we will continue working. I already have a person that is assigned to work in that area Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursday. So we currently doing more progress in that area. Also with the grinding as well. I personally am going to have a day specific that I'm grinding with the guys around the community, especially in the 5 Oak area. The other thing was about what Derry Hampshire was saying about the swimming pool. The company came today, so they did the maintenance today about the source system in the swimming pool. So basically that has been taken care as well. I know that a bunch of the residents that have been see the umbrellas that we put up in the swimming pool as well. I know that in the past meeting, a couple of people that were saying that there was mold in the first step of the pool. That's how it has been taken care as well, which was not mold. Because the week before of the meeting, we had the Florida Health Department inspection. So if that would have been mold, our pool would be closed. So that was not the case. But it was like calcium that it was built up in that area. So we were able to remove it. Like calcium, yeah, yes. So we were able to take care of that as well. The other pool we had the last time that in the past meeting, there was a crack in the floor in the Ashley pool that you guys approved the proposal that already has been taken care as well. Just want to see what else you guys here. The lights from the entrance. We already, so actually today the guys finished putting one more, but we had an issue on one of the cables that we have to throw the new line as well. So basically we're missing 2 more lights. Already one side is already completed, and then the other one, we already put one, so we're missing 2. We got to fix the cable in that area, so I'm looking forward to do that tomorrow. If everything goes well, we have it back by tomorrow or middle of next week.
Okay, as they've been off a few nights now.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The mulch for the other 2 parks that we were missing, which was the other 2 in that side of the community, because by the past meeting, we already complete all the playgrounds that was in the west side. That's already been taken care as well. So the mulch and those playgrounds, and also I was missing a little bit more in one of the parks in this area, the west side. So I already take care of that as well. The volleyball net, we removed it again because the posts, they were leaning inside by pressure of the net. So basically yesterday we were digging, we reinforced the post. And after we do that, the net is scheduled to be back, to put back on Sunday. But we're gonna leave a couple of days for the concrete to, dry, and then we're gonna put it back. Other than that, I mean, I don't know if you guys have any questions for me.
Didn't put a picture of the umbrellas in here.
Well, by the time that we did the inspection, that wasn't, I wasn't there yet.
Those are getting those out there.
Yeah,
Who picked them out?
I did. I only had two options, either that or the 10 color, but the other color, they didn't have enough. So that's why, yeah, I picked that color. That was the only option that we had.
Spicy. I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was us. Yeah,
Okay.
he's right.
Credit where credit is due, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Two, trimming. Is that done by field services?
No, United. That was them. That was done in the Ashley pool.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the item number 3, that was a pile that was left for one of homeowners in that
I
street.
think that pile's been sitting there for like
Yeah.
years.
So, I
Since
mean,
last fall.
we were able to take care of that as well.
Yep.
And then I will, so basically item number 8, we will need a vendor like to provide us with a proposal because that dock in that area is a lot of wood that needs to be replaced. I will contact one and then have a proposal for the next meeting. That way you guys can decide if you guys want to go over with that or not.
You think there's any safety issues with wood falling?
It's more in the size.
The sides?
Yeah, it's more in the size. Not on the underground. It's just on the size. Yeah, it's old. So basically, it needs to be replaced. And based on my knowledge, that wood when it was installed, it's not. If it's pressure treated wood, but also if it were to be painted, it will last more.
Okay. Yeah, we had to replace some of the footbridges a number of years ago. We ended up using composite material and it was a higher upfront cost, but should have lower maintenance costs over time. But that's yeah, if you are to find any proposals, more than one vendor is preferred, obviously. We're in the process of changing. I mean, I don't want to say don't bother looking for it. If what do we think, everybody? I mean, do we want to?
I mean, they're leaving it in 60 days. I mean, they're gonna be able to get that done.
Okay, well,
But between the proposal
the
and
proposal wouldn't be for them doing the work. It would be for an outside vendor, and that outside vendor could still be, I'm fine with you, looking for estimates. I mean, we don't have to approve any of them, and it could be something we take up with new management. So.
On item 15, the light on during the day on the light pole, that can be done on the OUC website and they don't need the pole number. You can just put the address. And if you want to send those to me, I do them all the time. I drive around at night and look for the ones that are out and then I turn them in and they fix them. So I'm pretty familiar with how to do it if you just want to send me those reports.
Okay.
When you get them.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, guys have any other questions for me? We good?
Any other questions for field services? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
I just want to say thank you for taking care of the projects that I sent your way
Anytime.
in a good timely manner.
Anytime. If you need anything, just let me know.
thank you. All right, we've already had the district engineer report. District council.
Sure, and I've got several items to discuss, but why don't we go ahead and take the most pressing one first, and
Yes.
that's the request for proposals for management services. Just to kind of give you a little bit of background how we got here, because I saw some concern when you didn't have evaluation criteria in front of you tonight, and that is that what the board voted for was for our office to prepare the RFP and present it to the board. And, and for then you would discuss it and decide what tweaks you wanted to make, how you wanted to move forward, because there are several options the board has. Yesterday, we got the termination letter from Infomark, which made this more of a pressing issue. And again, they have the legal right to issue that notice. So that's not what I'm taking issue with, but it does change our schedule. So you have a few different options in terms of how you go about this. Number one is you could do an RFP, an informal RFP, where you tell me, reach out to the companies who do this type of work in your area and give them the scope of services and ask them if they would be willing to provide management services. We can do that informally if you want. I don't think it's going to change the number of responses you get if you do it informally versus a newspaper. That's one option, but you would have to carve out the actual maintenance services from that process. Another option that you have is to do an informal RFP just for district management services, and then bid out the field management, amenity management, and maintenance services. So that's option number 2. Option number 3 is you can just do a formal RFP process for all the services. And that would involve scoring and evaluation criteria for each one of those services. So part of the reason why we couldn't finalize anything is we don't know what direction the board wants to go with this. So we need to have some discussion on, do you want one company to do everything? And if you want one company to do everything, then option number 3 is going to be your best bet to get in the time that you have. If you are willing to consider alternatives where you would have one district management company that all they do is the accounting and the finance and running the meetings, which is important, but they don't deal with the field management and they don't deal with the field maintenance workers, then you could do, the first option where you have no RFP for manager, but you have an RFP for everything else. So I need some input from the board on this, and I've not seen any proposals the board has, and I would just caution against sharing a lot of those proposals in the event you select a competitive process that has to be gone through, and that is designed to prevent bid protest from somebody who perhaps has not submitted a proposal before the deadline. So with that said, I think the board needs to have a discussion on which direction you would need to go, and then I'll tell you what documents we need and when we have to meet.
Okay. My first thought, and this is just to the content of the RFP, and as it describes the number of pools and everything, I didn't see the splash pad mentioned. I guess technically it's considered a pool fixture as it has, chemical monitoring requirements and everything. That absolutely needs to be called out for the field services portion of the proposal. And I don't believe I saw it in the RFP.
Yeah, we'll add that. That's what I thought we were going to be doing tonight, was going through what's missing from the RFP, what's not, but that's not what we have to do tonight.
Okay.
But I'm going to add that in there. That's a good point.
Okay. And if anyone else has any other thoughts on the RFP, to the other points, my opinion, I'm not married to having it be one company doing everything. I think ultimately we'd have more flexibility if there are, maybe we're fine with how they're, running the meetings and handling the finances, but we're having issues with whoever's doing the field services and, reporting issues, or a lot of things really got, wound together with having Infomark doing it all. So my thought is, I don't think we are necessarily benefit from having one company doing all of that. And so my thought would be to do the informal, which seems like the most flexible and gives us the most runway in getting proposals and being able to make that decision, getting that done informally the soonest, and then have the, as required by law, RFP process and scoring requirement and everything for the field services. Anyone else have?
Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think about 2 weeks ago, we had a conversation on the phone, and I thought that conversation, we were clearing up, maybe I'm wrong. You and I had a conversation about the way that that this was going to be put up for RFP. But it was my understanding that we were going to put it for management service and also for field services separately, right? So I thought we already had that conversation.
Well, we had that conversation, which is one of the options, but I can't take direction from one board member. You all have to collectively decide what approach you want to take.
Yeah, I guess that was my bad, because you called me and asked me, and I thought
That's what we were going. But
No,
then
the conversation the reason I called you was to find out if you wanted it to be an option for the district to have its own employees do the actual field maintenance. I wanted to know if that was something that there was any interest in whatsoever. And I think that your response was we should not eliminate options before we see them. So yes, make sure you account for that, which we did in the form of the RFP that you have.
right, because lots of residents have expressed the desire to, at the very least, explore the option of possibly bringing field services back in-house. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of components there, a lot of which I don't pretend to understand. I just off the top of my head, I'm thinking like insurance, benefits, payroll, et cetera. So I don't pretend to, know all that goes into it. But just because I know that there has been so much resident interest, we absolutely should consider the option of having it in-house and then obviously having a management company. And then if we're going to go with outsourcing field services, then I think it makes sense to couple the management and the field services. So I think we should have obviously both options, management and then in-house field services, and then management and field services outsourced.
Well, so to Mike's point, and for how to immediately proceed, because the clock is ticking,
We need to
the
make a
question was,
motion
yeah,
to
the
do it.
question was, do we have a formal RFP process for both of them? Or do they do the informal process for the management, get that make progress on there as they're able to, and then since there's a statutory requirement for bidding the field services part of it, have that be separated. And I mean, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, a possible outcome of that would be the same company doing management could submit a bid for them also doing the field services. And if they win the scoring, then it would end up being one company doing all of it. Is that a possible outcome?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And you would see many of those companies bid on, want to negotiate with the district on the informal and then submit a formal proposal there. I mean, I think that's a likely outcome. You may have a few outliers who just do district management, but that may very well be how it turns out. And then the board will have to score the maintenance part according to the criteria. And what I'll be presenting to you is a request for proposal scoring criteria, which price will be a factor, but it will not be the only factor. The quality, experience, the ability to staff, things like that, the board will take into account in how you rank those proposals to provide maintenance services.
Okay, so
Yeah, I'm in the boat of doing the informal RFP process for the management company and having the ability to, well, we have to do the formal RFP process for the field services and having the option to maybe bring in in-house field services again, or if the company that bids the best will, maybe it's the same company. But I think due to the nature of time and getting these things figured out, I think that's probably the best route to go forward with.
I'm on board with that.
okay, so you could, do we need to make a formal motion on that, Mike?
No, we're gonna have to continue this meeting to sometime next week for you to approve the criteria for the other part, because we can't wait too long because the last day is before August ends. So the informal part, I can get that started quickly because I've already got the scope of services I feel very confident in. I can pull that out of the RFP document that you've seen and then circulate that. And if the board, I would suggest this approach just because we've done it before. I will send it to the companies that I know do this type of district management work. And if there's any board member that has a company that they want me to make sure is included in that list, I will certainly do that. So that would be my suggestion for the informal district management. Now I can probably get that out. If not tomorrow, it'll be Monday or this weekend, but I'll try to do it tomorrow.
Okay, and now with continuing the meeting, is the purpose of that to have responses for that informal management request to then consider and do the scoring, or is that just to establish the scoring for field
It's
service?
to establish the scoring criteria, because in Florida, you have to establish the scoring criteria before you advertise for the proposal, because they don't want people seeing the proposals and then crafting the scoring criteria to reach the result that they want. So
Right.
that is a necessary requirement that we have to do. And that would be for the maintenance services.
Okay.
So I
and-
see us informal for district management and formal for field amenity management and the maintenance work.
Okay. And as far as that scoring criteria, do you need, what kind of guidance do you need from the board? Is that something that you have like a boilerplate for, you said you've been involved with other similar transitions in the past. What kind of direction do you need in preparing that? And then we'll schedule what kind of a
I
continuation.
don't need any direction in preparing the draft. I'll draft it. I'll have proposed scoring categories, descriptions of those categories, and the actual points that are available. You all will meet at this continued meeting and say, hey, we want experience to be 35, not 30. We want price to be weighted differently. And then you all make that decision. You approve it at that meeting, and then we advertise and issue the RFP.
Any thoughts or
So,
comments? Oh, yeah.
just a question about the meeting, 7:24. Is that the informal meeting that we're going to choose which management company we're going to select?
Yes,
Okay.
that's the intent for that.
Okay.
And perhaps you might even have proposals in by that time for the field maintenance work.
Okay.
Because again, it's only 7 days, but you all will make that decision how long you want to give them to submit at this continued meeting that we have next week.
So when do management companies need to submit their proposals for that meeting? When's like the drop dead line?
For the 24th, I would want to get all proposals in by the 15th for district management services for the informal. That way we can include them in the agenda package for the meeting on the 24th.
And then the field service seems like it's a lot more work because it's law abiding RFP. So are we going to vote on that, or are we going to get proposals and then determine that decision later?
My hope would be, depending on when you schedule your continued meeting next week, to have something for you to approve that has the scoring criteria next week, as well as the form of the advertisement. And you've seen the RFP and signed off on the content of that. So I would like to start the district management informal stuff now. And then at your continued meeting, you would deal with the management RFP, finalize that, and then we can get that sent out.
Okay. So as far as setting the date for the continuation of this current meeting we're in right now, looking at Infomark, are you guys able to support the 3rd?
Excuse me, sorry. Yes, we can have someone here on the 3rd. However, I did want to point out to the board, so there's no surprises, even though it is in your contract agreement. Additional meetings are $125 an hour. Okay.
Understood.
So you have 2 scheduled. I'm just letting
Yep,
you know, so
yep.
when you see the invoice, it's not a surprise.
Understood. And now how about for the rest of the board? Are we able to, I don't know, everyone's travel plans? We need to have a quorum here in person. It's a continuation of this meeting, but that rule would still apply, right? It has to be an in-person quorum of at least 3 of us to restore the meeting.
Correct. You have to have 3 individuals physically present in the room, and the other 2 could participate by phone if they needed to.
Right. Thursday, July 3rd. I'm able to be here. Do we have 2 others of us that will be able to be here?
Planning the same time, like 6 p.m. Is that what we're shooting for?
If that's so, that would also have to be cleared with the venue. Joseph, Jennifer, do we need to? Okay, he's saying as long as there's no conflicting, if we could clarify that immediately, because time is of the essence here. But okay, so Same time makes sense. I think 6 PM. I guess we need to formalize that with a motion, Mike?
So two things. One is we do need a motion to direct me to issue the informal request for proposals for district management services. Let's start with that.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
All right, Brittany seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Okay, second issue is when we get to the end of the meeting, instead of adjourning, it'll be a motion to continue the meeting to this July 3rd, this location at 6 PM. But that's
Understood.
premature for us to do that right now.
Right, understood. Okay.
Okay, well, I've got good direction there. Does anybody have any other questions on the management RFQ before I move on?
Yeah, was there anything else from our review, anything that we want to have added to that RFP or we think was need to be clarified or changed? Microphone. Yeah, go for it.
I don't know what I did with my paper right now, but the one thing that I was going to bring up is, do we want to start picking up the leaves in Harmony? Since so many residents don't clean up their leaves, should we just put it in our budget and do it? Because there's such a risk to our storm drains. I mean, I really wish that everybody would do what they're supposed to, but they don't. And is it cheaper for us to clean the leaves up for everyone? Or is it cheaper to pay repairs to the stormwater drainage?
I think that I had asked Nick that question, and one of the options, and I don't know how much of the actual leaves it will encompass, but I believe that adding the verges to the budget would take care of some of that.
Okay.
That's only on
hold
3 streets.
Hold on a second. Okay, so that's understandable, but we're right now discussing the RFP and the proposal specifically for the replacement of management and field services. That's valid, but that's, supervisor requests. And when we did have some.
I thought maybe if we wanted it, we would put it in the RFP is why I brought it up, but that's
No,
okay.
landscape is excluded. This is, and that's called out. That would be part of landscaping services.
To clean up leaves?
Okay, I see your point. That's maybe I don't know, Mike, is that level of, I mean, am I wrong in calling that minutia of, because I mean, it kind
No,
of
I think
landscape, go ahead.
I think it's a valid point and a valid time to bring it up. What we can do, and think about this between now and your continued meeting, is we can have some alternates built into the RFP. And if you're going to remove leaves from this many miles of street, this many times a month, how much would that cost? And you can have that as an alternate in your RFP. You wouldn't have to do it, but at least you'd have a price and know what it would be.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay. And we do have existing pricing from, I believe. Okay. Okay. Venue, Mike, sounds like the venue is good here for the 3rd. So we will not adjourn this meeting. We'll continue it, but we have some other stuff to get to first.
Yep.
Still, go ahead.
Parking ordinance that I provided to the board at the last meeting. We didn't really discuss this. We did provide it. It was in the agenda package. And again, we can't adopt an ordinance, but we can ask the county to adopt an ordinance. I did my best to draft this based on the comments that I've received from the board before. I've not received really much feedback from the board on this and on this initial draft. And I don't know if you're ready to consider it or discuss it tonight, but I think it's important, since you all live there and I don't, that this be what you want it to be, not what I could decipher from, just listening in from afar from a few board meetings. So with that said, I'll be quiet and let the board discuss it.
Okay. My feedback on that had been how the ordinance mentions, it does mention designated parking areas.
Correct.
It's necessary to find those. To what, and I guess is the right time to discuss it, Joe, with your suggestion at last meeting. I did reach out to the county through Commissioner Booth's office, got me in touch with Kurt Deal, who works at the county, and I spoke with him quite a bit a couple weeks ago. It's a question for council in that what we were discussing was Joe's idea of talking to the county now that they own the golf maintenance building and property there about either possibly subletting it for maintenance or storage use, and also possibly being granted easement or passage or something through that property to access our storage area to get around some of the permitting issues that we were faced with back when we originally had to move the trailer out from back there. My conversation with Mr. Deal, his read of it was, I mean, we had, there was definitely a violation having a building structure back there, but as far as being allowed to have resident property or CDD property stored on that lot back there, there would be some paving requirements, but in his conversation with a fire marshal, it didn't go as far as needing like a large hammerhead turnaround. It sounded like there was something that might be a lower cost path to being able to reopen that storage area back there. There was a PD amendment that was done back in 2019, so there would be fencing that we would have to pay for. I'm getting clarification on just how much that would be. There is a legal question I'll get to in a second, Mike, but there would also, whether it's, limestone or millings, there'd be some kind of repaving and compaction we would have to get quotes for, get clearance with FGT, who, has the pipeline running under there to make sure they're okay with whatever's done. But that's at least talking to the county now and having the maintenance facility having now moved and not be part of the conversation. There might be a path for us restoring that storage area for resident use. My question for council is, if we're, we have this ordinance that we're talking about with the county and having, requiring people to park in a designated area. If we were to satisfy the county's requirements with this RV storage lot that had been used in the past, from your point of view, is there we collected fines or we collected a fee for that before, and it was meant to be a self-sustaining amenity. From your point of view, is that something that from a liability standpoint we can have, whatever waivers people would have to sign to store their RV or whatever 12-foot or less vehicle back there at their own risk? Would we be incumbent to provide some kind of, beyond just a fence, some kind of assurance that residents' materials will be safe back there? How much are you? What's your initial reaction to this can of worms I just opened?
No, I don't think it's a can of worms. I think that we have other communities that have RV storage areas. Typically, there is fencing and there is locks. In those storage areas, sometimes there's security. As long as it's consistent with what's allowed by the county and you meet the county code and how you establish it, I don't have concerns from a liability standpoint of a community having one of those. Because again, I have several communities that our firm works with that have RV storage lots.
Okay. Is it premature to include possible management of the, we don't even have proposals for meeting those county requirements, which are 10-foot opaque fencing. The vehicles have to be less than 12 feet. We would have to, there'd be more legal work that would have to be done to draft, a fee structure, whether we just reinstate what had been, or there'd be a lot of groundwork. Do we think it's premature to potentially include this in the RFP as far as amenity management, potentially maybe just as a line item that we can use or exercise or not exercise management of the storage area? Any? No.
I don't know that it would take a lot of maintenance afterwards. And I'm guessing that any place that we sign with, if we wanted to add something, they could add an addendum to our contract and say for an extra $200 a year, we'll also mow that.
Okay.
I mean, that's
it's something that doesn't exist yet, and there would be, a fair amount of legwork that would have to be
as much
done.
as I want it to happen. you know, I guess I'm thinking it's about 50-50 chance, so. I'm
Yeah,
not
well,
sure
no,
if it-
that's how I approached it with Mr. Deal at the county. Actually, I was there at the meeting when they were, they're bringing some of their crew into the building for the first time. Unfortunately, they're not able to sublease any of it to us. They're utilizing the
okay.
entire building. And unfortunately, they're using the far end of it for staging their vehicles and stuff. So there wouldn't even be a path through there. That was how I approached it with him.
Yeah.
But in trying to solve our problem of people parking trailers and vehicles and stuff on the side of the road, he was, he was able to, he talked
And
to the
he
fire
need
marshal.
this whole parking lot?
What's that?
Does he need that whole parking lot?
That's the part of the clarification I asked for. His first suggestion might have been that it might just be the original boundary of it because it was the expansion of that storage facility a number of years ago that triggered this wasn't supposed to be here response from the county. So I'm getting clarification on if it is that entire boundary of the property that we'd be able to use.
What I meant though, when you go into there from the street by 5 Points, on the left, there's a whole big empty parking. I thought, well, maybe they would just rent spaces out themselves.
That's the original location of the Field Services CDD trailer, that space on the right of the driveway. That's where the CDD Field Service trailer was originally.
No, you're talking the Garden Road. I'm talking
Oh.
about if you go down the paved road to the community, to the golf building.
Yeah.
And when you first go through the gate,
Right.
on the left, there's a big open parking area.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I was talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the conversation I had was to see if they'd be open to sharing that, and it sounded like they do plan to fully utilize that for
Okay.
their.
All right. Well, it was worth a shot.
It was, but there's still a potential of
Yeah.
positive outcome
Yeah.
from that.
And I don't know that the pipeline goes in the back part.
No,
I think it's just only in the front. Yeah.
It's still that length of road from Five Oaks down to the garden area that is directly over the pipeline, and we would have to have FGT's blessing on.
But if
whatever.
we came in on the road,
They're not willing to open up from
anything for us.
right. They're
all right,
using
okay.
that I asked, and
Yeah.
we had a good conversation, but right. Okay.
Okay.
So back to the topic at hand, which is the parking ordinance. Do we have any other thoughts on? Okay. And Mike, I agree with your take that we maybe we're not ready to submit it to the county yet, especially if we are potentially able to come up with a designated parking area that we could then, try and enforce people keeping their vehicles at. Any other thoughts on parking ordinance? Okay.
I wish they would, we need to clean up. There's a lot of stuff parked
Yeah.
on Five Oaks
Yeah,
that need to be.
Well, I
I-
thought of leaving my car there.
Go ahead.
So we keep a trailer for
Okay.
You
parking
can leave a
there.
car there.
All right, Mike.
Yeah,
Yep.
I wish. they
We're
could-
gonna defer this item until the chairman puts it back on the agenda. I'm not sending it to the county at this point.
Agreed. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Next.
Yep. Two more things. One is I sent the board a letter. In our contract, we have a flat fee provision for certain work that gets done in the month when we attend board meetings or in person. We came up with that a long time ago is try to guess, what would be a fair way to do that. But we also put in the agreement, both parties put in the agreement that either one could terminate it if they wanted to. Last month, and I informed the board, I wrote off about $8,500 worth of attorney time so that I could meet that $3,500 threshold for coming to your meeting. That's not sustainable for my firm. And so I'm happy to talk about it with the board or provide more information, but at least at this point in time, after today's meeting, I'll probably be sending a letter to the board just saying, hey, we're going to revert back to the hourly when I need to attend meetings, especially given what I anticipate is going to be the workload over the next 6 months. So happy to discuss with the board. It's not a provision that was used very often because most of the meetings I attend by Zoom, which I think is, it's just worked out fine. Microphones are great. That helps a lot. So happy to discuss this, but needed to bring it to your attention.
I may open for discussion, but we are asking a lot from the lawyer and we got to pay the piper.
What is the hourly rate and how many hours on average are we using?
Well, I can take a look at our bills. Our bills are very detailed. They have the number of hours, the date, and the task, and then the rates on the bills. So, and those are submitted to the manager monthly. I'm happy to pull them over the last 12 months and send them to the entire board if you'd like to see them.
Well, I mean, it's not like we're voting on this, right? But for us to just say, oh, sure, that's okay, when we're not even sure how many hours are we going to be billed for.
Right. Well, I mean, am I understanding the alternative if we say we don't want to honor this?
I mean, right now we don't have a choice,
right.
but I'm just saying
That's my understanding of it.
it's kind of hard to say, sure, I'm on board with this without even knowing, A, what is the hourly rate? Is it $1 million? I don't know. And how many hours on average is it going to be? I mean, if we're talking here, $3,500 is the provisional flat fee. And according to legal, we have, they're dedicating over $12,000 worth of time. Are we going to be paying $12,000 a month in legal?
He's offered. Go ahead.
So the best way to gauge that is no, you're not going to be paying $12,000 a month in legal. You might be over the next 3 or 4 months, depending on how drawn out this management process gets. But if you look at the bills for the last 12 months, almost all of those would have been on an hourly basis. So you can look at those bills, average them out to get what your average monthly attorney bill is. Sometimes it's been probably in the $3,000 range. And then sometimes it's been in the $5,000 or $6,000 range.
Yeah. And I think that would definitely be informative if you're, I mean, that's not, it's not something that's going to take you a lot of time, a lot of billable hours to provide. Is that?
I don't charge for getting billable or billing information. Because I just send an email saying, send me the last 12 months of bills and I'll send them to the board and you can see them. But you should be reviewing them on a monthly basis if you want to. The Infomark is the one that has those detailed breakdowns of the time that was spent every month.
Yes.
So that's,
go ahead.
Happy to talk more about that if you want, but I just had one other issue.
Any other discussion on the flat fee structure? Okay, go ahead, Mike.
The final issue is just a reminder, and I bring this up only because I've had this come up more recently at other districts. And I think I heard when I was at the last meeting that a critique of the board that they weren't on social media and therefore weren't involved and didn't care. And I want to make sure that the public and the board understand what the Sunshine Law is and what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. So any board member is allowed to go on social media and they can say what they want to say on social media. However, if another board member posts in response to that, and it's a matter that may come before the board for discussion, that may constitute a Sunshine Law violation. So what that means is when one board member posts something on social media saying, hey, I think our meeting times are way too long. We ought to have an automatic cutoff. And another board member chimes in and says, yes, we should vote on that at the next meeting. That's a Sunshine Law violation. So, and I've counseled the board on these issues in the past. And so I would just say, if board members aren't having discussions on social media boards, it doesn't mean they're not interested. It just means they're not violating the law. So again, any one board member can go on social media and that's fine. But once other board members start interacting with them in a conversation, that becomes a very big problem. So.
And just to be clear, nobody on this board is doing that. We don't discuss anything with each other. Obviously, we're talking about me. I do go on social media, specifically the residents forum, and put information out there, but there's never any discussion amongst board members, just amongst board members and residents.
Yeah, and I'm sorry you feel that way, but I was not talking about you. I was talking about the several Commission on Ethics complaints I got in other districts recently for this issue. So I'm reminding all my boards, this is a real issue.
I think it was the Isla Morada City Council down in Monroe County. They all walked into a meeting and immediately took a snap vote and like fired their manager or something like that. But it was something they very obviously communicated about outside the meeting, and now they're all being investigated for sunshine violations. It is not just it is an actual real life law that people can go to jail for breaking. So it is something we need to be serious about. So
Yeah. And my point is not that I think anybody's violated it. My point is that other board members can't have those discussions. That's my point.
Yeah.
So with that said, I'm happy to answer any questions the board has, but I did want to make sure that I talked to you about those items.
Appreciate it, Mike. Thank you. We have any other questions for council? Okay. Thank you, Mike, for everything, all your support and guidance in this time. District manager. You have the next agenda item. Have anything to discuss?
Can we have two clarifications from Infomark? At the beginning, you said Jennifer was acting district manager. Is Joseph not our district manager?
Yeah, the Joseph wasn't on microphone, but yeah, Joseph Gonzalez is not going to be our district manager as of tonight. Jennifer Golden will be.
Is it just as of tonight? Because his emails have been bouncing back for a couple of days. Okay. And I think Lucas had asked in the beginning, but maybe under since it's your guys' time to shine here, maybe you could just explain to some of the residents the rationale behind your decision.
Yep.
So, Infomark just has a prepared statement. So I'm happy to read that to you guys. It just says, regrettably, the current environment has become unattainable for our staff. I'm sorry, my thing just popped up. We can no longer subject them to such conditions. There's been a significant negative shift in the board and community that is no longer a fit for us and our staff. The racial tension in community towards some members of our staff is with prejudice and ugliness. All of our staff has been involved with Harmony and has consistently been dedicated to delivering their best efforts. Despite our imperfections and ongoing efforts to improve, the relentless negativity has become intolerable. We initially believed the collaboration could rectify the situation and restore normalcy, but it appears that this is not achievable. It is unfortunate, as Infomark has been a longstanding partner of Harmony and we deeply value the relationship. We sincerely hope that Harmony will find a management company that aligns with its needs, and I'm confident that you will succeed in this endeavor. The board has our full commitment that this will be a smooth transition, and we will continue to work hard until August 25th.
Okay. Do we have any other? I mean, I'm not expecting much more discussion from Infomark based on what was said in that letter, but we have any other things we'd like to discuss in this district manager portion of the agenda? No.
I would just like to point out how we couldn't even get a unanimous vote for an RFP from this board. And it might be a moot point at this point because they've submitted their resignation. But if this is not the ultimate, clearly they don't care about us as a neighborhood. There was not 1 ounce of accountability in that statement. It was all deflection and gaslighting, not 1 ounce. After meeting after meeting after meeting of me sitting up here talking about things like, can I get an email response? Can you respond to my email? Like simple as that, let alone the laundry list of breach of contract. And so I just want to make it very clear that this is a blessing in disguise. These folks don't care about us. They do not have our interests at heart. They've only sucked and sucked more. And
Okay.
again, zero accountability.
Guys,
No,
okay,
I think that's important to know. I think it's important to know because we had several members of this board going up to bat as early as last month, going up to bat for these guys.
Okay. So again, the notice has been given, the clock is running. I will say for my part that following the beginning the RFP process last month, I was reached out to by Infomark. I provided a list of what the outstanding communication budget, many, the different issues were. And I was expecting a response. And based on them reaching out to me immediately after that vote, at the time at least, it seemed like they were maybe still interested in salvaging the relationship. And I was clear with my response that, hey, tell us if these expectations are outside the scope of our contract, if that's what if that's a discussion we need to be having. And it was the communications, just dropped off. And at one point they blamed an email issue, and rather than a response to my list of issues, it was the resignation we got yesterday afternoon. So I've said my piece, you've said your piece. I don't know what's productive about us
I think
discussing
it's
this any
important
further.
to have the record clear that when we asked them to fulfill their contractual obligations, they decided to quit.
Okay, well, and now we have to move forward from that.
Perfect.
So next item is the consent agenda. So first we have, and this has been batted around considerably, the minutes from the May budget meeting. First thing I'll say, we've had several amendments that we've already sent about the RFP vote and making sure that was documented as a actual agenda item that we discussed and voted on, and not just a supervisor request. In addition, there was a petition from residents that I asked to have written into the minutes as the official, as an official record of that being submitted at the meeting. So that amendment still needs to be made to the minutes. Given the
I'm sorry, just to interject. On your tablets, you have the last revision because this went back and forth till pretty late yesterday. So if I can come around and close out the one you currently have up, and you'll see that there is the revised minutes. Yep, this one. Top one. Yep, the top one.
was it emailed? I mean,
Yes, Mana did email it out as well, but we did put it on your tablets for you all.
okay, so specifically to the issue of the resident petition being read into the record of the meeting. Can you point us to that? Well, it needs to say in the recording of the meeting that the that the board was presented with this petition from residents, and just recording that we, received this and acknowledged, and documented that this is a thing that we received. I mean, that was a specific request of mine coming into the meeting, knowing that it was going to be brought before the board. So I want to make sure that it is part of the permanent record of the meeting that took place.
Yeah, let me pull them up and look at them again and see where it's at for you. If it's not in there, we will get it added, and we can bring it to the next meeting.
And I believe we saw the additional updates that were made. Do we have any other comments on the minutes that were in their latest form?
For the RFP, for the motion, on motion by Mr. Lee, seconded by Ms. Cornell, with Mr. Chokanis opposed, the district council to prepare RFP for management service was approved 4-1. I thought that vote was 3-2.
I voted yes. I voted yeah. Yes, I did.
I did not vote against that. I did not say nay. I did not vote against that. You can look at the.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we have any other adjustments that need to be made to the minutes that we're approving for? Okay, resident, go ahead. Okay. Yeah, were you able to hear that? That there
No, I
for,
wasn't.
okay, for some of the motions that were voted for that had dollar amounts, that needs to be included in the minutes as the record of the meeting. What dollar amounts were?
Absolutely. We'll get it adjusted.
Okay. Do we have any other adjustments to the minutes? Either for the budget meeting or for the regular meeting? Do we have any comments on the financial statements or check register? So pending those adjustments that have been just discussed, I move to approve the consent agenda, adopting the minutes from the budget meeting, minutes from the regular meeting of May 29th, financial statements and check register.
I'll second that.
All right, thank you, Lucas. Do we have any other discussion on the consent agenda and approving the, what do you think?
I would just like to go back. I don't want to vote to approve it when I'm not 100% sure. Like, not that I don't trust you guys, but I would just like to go back for my own reassurance of what that vote looked like.
Okay, so I mean, I'll add to the motion. So pending,
Thing I don't believe.
no. Okay. Okay, that's a good point. Yeah, so we have 1 week. We can go and finish reviewing any other thing on the consent agenda that we need to finish. Let's see. So next would we have a motion in a second, but are we just going to table it for now, I guess? Okay. So next would be supervisor requests. Oh.
I don't know if we need to vote for this, but I just want to make sure, being that we got the green light from the landscaper, right? That resident at 3169 is going to get 100% of their deposit back.
If our landscaper is happy with the condition of the property.
Right, he already
whatever
confirmed that. Do we need to vote for that, or?
You do not need to vote for that. That's handled at a staff level.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you. All right. Super.
I do have a supervisor request.
Right.
We have a website that I absolutely despise and have been trying to get fixed for at least 2 years, maybe 3. And actually, Joseph and I have been working very hard on it. And but Campus Suite, it's another company name now, school something. Anyway, they only take direction from one person. And so I can't make the changes. I would not be adding, well, I'll first say what I'm saying. I would like the board to approve me as the liaison person who can continue this work with the Campus Suite. And all I would be doing is changing the names on some of the files that are unclear. I won't take anything off the website, and I would move things from the old website that were not brought over. Anything new that needs to be put on there would be still the responsibility of Infomark. It would just allow me to finish cleaning up. I have about 20 files in my OneDrive because I've been working on this. For instance, the instructions on how to use the boat did not get brought over to the new website. The financial records are not in the correct order. Some things are on there duplicated. It was not done very well, but I can't be the one to do it unless you guys all, I don't know if it needs a motion or what, unless you don't want me to do it, but
So
I would be happy to continue with that.
Right. So maintenance of the website is part of the RFP, it was at least documented as part of the responsibility for management. But Mike, do you see any issue with us doing that? And if so, does it require a motion?
Let me clarify. They will still be responsible for
Yes.
putting up the other stuff. I would just be continuing on with
Right.
what Joseph and I have been working on.
Formally named as, yeah. So Mike, is there any issue with that?
No, not really, but I will tell you this, that you're going to have district management companies who are going to propose preferred websites and website vendors. So just kind of keep that in mind, that you may see proposals on that over the next couple months.
Yes, I thought of that because I've seen some of the others, but I thought, well, if we do end up with a different one, at least they'll take the information from ours, will be clean when they get it. So that will help with the transfer, I think.
I have no problem with that. Anyone else?
Do you trust me?
Does it sound like we need a motion for that, Mike?
No motion necessary.
All right. Congratulations on the promotion.
Oh.
Do we have any other supervisor requests? Julie? Lucas?
None here.
Okay, so I will move.
I have one.
Yep, go on. Green light means it's on.
I was also hoping that we could someday, and I think I sort of alluded to it before, the board, I don't know if it'd be a special meeting, but I'd love for us to sit down and go over each line of the budget and work on our, the reserve study and get all that stuff in order. And I'd also like us to get a list of all our equipment, when it was bought, and so we know what's coming up. Because part of the problem with the playground mulch falls on us because we didn't have that on our list of things to, even though we rely on them to do it. And so I would like to, if the rest of the board is interested, I think it'd be a good thing for us to do, and including creating our budget in a way that we understand what each item is and why those numbers are in there, because there are a few that still don't make sense to me even after all this time. So that's just an idea for the future going forward, but I would very much like to do that. I also like the idea of us being actually able to talk to one another face to face, because we sit at this long table and we really aren't interacting, too much.
Yeah, I got that. I tried. I mean, we have the video setup, and we were kind of limited on space here, and we have been asked to make sure the chairs and everything go back to their previous location. But
this was even better because I can kind of look over and see you while you're speaking, and that helps. So thank you for that. So that was just something I wanted to put in there and for future thought.
okay, any other supervisor requests? All right, I will move to continue the meeting Thursday, July 3rd in this same location at 6 p.m.
Second.
All right, everything sound good, Mike, for that motion?
Perfect.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right, thank you, everybody, for your interest, and we will see you in a week.
Thanks, everyone.